Sure. There is the mind.
We're rational.
Acceleration.
Okay. Let's assume that there's a physics model that predicts that a bunch of matter particles would form into a ball. Wouldn't that model eventually have to be tested against reality?
You mean? I'm not sure about the
model. Like models have to be empirically verified, right?
Right.
Okay. So has anybody ever observed a ball forming due to gravity?
No, not with their eyes. We observe it through evidence left behind.
How do you know that's evidence left behind?
Yeah. So, are you asking for evidence in particular for the Earth's shape, historically?
No. No. The claim is gravity forms balls. You're saying, hey, that's never been observed.
That gravity formed balls.
Well, see balls, so that's how they must have been formed. That's circular reasoning.
Gravity doesn't just form balls, but masses that are large enough, yes, they will coalesce into some structure.
Masses that are large enough. Can you define what mass is? I have no idea what that is.
So, classically, mass is understood as a measurement of matter, which is understood as... No. Scratch that. Classically, mass is understood as both a resistance to inertia and a response to... Well, actually, let me make this right. Because there's gravitational mass, and there's inertial mass. But it was concluded that these are actually the same mass under Einstein's theory. But inertial mass is just mass. A mass is defined as that which resists acceleration. Gravitational mass is defined as that which interacts with gravitational fields. But these are the same mass under Einstein's theory.
You started to find what mass is.
I just gave you two different definitions that you can use.
How is that a definition? What's that? I don't get it. What is?
That's it. That's all it is. At least classically. Classically, that's what it is. It's a mathematical quantity.
So if I count the number of particles in a substance, then I'll know the mass of substance?
Well, prior to the 20th century, you didn't have the capacity to do that. So, working with the definition that you had in classical physics, you would measure mass as how much some substance is accelerated in response to in response to a push or a pull. That's it. It's like at least classical. Yeah.
Okay. What are you measuring?
So you're measuring the resistance to acceleration.
Okay. So how do you know what that is? How do you know what the resistance to acceleration is?
Yeah. So F equals ma. So like right now this.
So, but hold on. You can't use m. You're trying to define mass.
You didn't let me finish.
You're trying to define mass. You can't use the same word in the definition.
Well, just let me finish. Right. If we move the terms to
are you going to argue you can?
I'm not done yet. Right. I haven't just this m. Right. This m that we don't know. We don't know what this m is. We just know that it's some proportionality. It's proportional to force and acceleration. So we just rearrange the equation, and we can define mass in terms of the force applied divided by the acceleration that force induces. And that's our definition of mass.
Well, where did you get the force from?
The force? That's just a push or pull.
Yeah, but where did you get its value?
Its value? So you're saying... Yeah, that's going to be determined by...
The mass times acceleration thing you're trying to define? What I'm trying to point out is that it's circular. reasoning behind this is circular.
Let me think. If there's a way I can explain it.
There's no way you can explain it. People have been trying to do it for 200 years. It's not explainable because it's logically nonsense. That's why I asked the question, dude. I'm like a lawyer, dude. I don't ask questions I don't already know the answer to. Want me to read what Max Born said, Mass is? So in his Max Born Nobel laureate, in his Theory of Relativity from Dover Publications, he wrote, in ordinary language, the word mass denotes something like the amount of substance or quantity of matter. These concepts themselves being defined no further. The concept of a substance is considered self-evident. In physics, however, as we must very strongly emphasize, the word mass has no meaning. Can I say it again? In physics, however, as we must strongly emphasize, the word mass has no meaning. Other than that given by formula, it is the measure of the resistance to acceleration to changes in velocity.
Right, yeah. That's what mass is defined as operationally.
But these things have no ontology. They're purely conceptual.
Concepts are real.
The concept is real. Yeah, it's a real concept.
Yeah, and concepts can predict or say something about the world. Right? You don't know what a chair is. You just have a concept of a chair. But you don't know what it is. No, you don't know what a chair is. You just have a concept.
Wait a second. Is mass?
Fall out of your chair and see what you don't know what a chair is.
That doesn't what is that? What does that prove?
Proves everything you just said is nonsense. Chairs exist. They're physically real.
There's something there, but you don't know what that something is. That's noumena, right? That's raw sense data. All you have is just a concept of what that thing is. You just have a concept of a chair, but you don't know what that chair is. No,
there's a real physical chair. It's a real physical chair.
It's a real physical chair that you have no epistemic access to other than your senses and your perceptions, aka concepts.
No, my senses aren't concepts.
Your senses are going to create concepts in your mind, like a chair.
Yeah, but that's a secondary effect. But you can have sense data you can have sensation without conceptualization.
They're
independent of each other.
Like maybe like a rare animal could.
Okay,
but humans,
people in a permanently vegetative state respond to external stimuli with no brain activity.
Yeah, that's sensation with no perception. Maybe I misunderstood what you were saying. If you're perceiving things, you have concepts.
Well, it becomes conceptual when you're
you can't divorce perception from the concept that you are perceiving in that moment.
Look, if you could do it, and this is a very hard task, you can perceive without conceptualizing your perception. So you can perceive it with your senses, right? The raw sense data, without forming any opinions, concepts, saying imagine this, imagine that. You can do this. It's not impossible. It's difficult because our minds are polluted, but it can be done.
Well, my point is that you have no access to reality. You just have access to your perceptions. So all you're going to be talking about.
That is utter. That Descartesian stuff is bullshit.
Okay, then prove that external reality exists. Like you can't.
Prove that external. Okay, what would constitute proof?
Some kind of justification or reasoning.
Okay, you're talking.
I think it's a personally a properly basic belief. And rational to believe without proof.
No, it's not. It's arguably more rational. It's more rational to believe that there is no external reality.
Actually. No, do you know about the philosophical idea of properly basic beliefs, or is that new to you?
Properly basic beliefs. No, I don't think I've heard that term.
Okay, it's the type of thing philosophers use when they talk about this kind of thing that we're rational in believing without proof.
Oh,
I would say that you can't even have an internal world without an external world. That it would not even exist.
you have no way of knowing that. Like, can you prove that?
Yeah, because you exist in the external fucking world. You were born, right?
You're begging the question. Like, that's the thing I'm asking you to prove.
Okay. Let's say you're born devoid of senses.
Uh-huh.
How would you know you're born? How would you have any thought whatsoever? What would you even think about?
Yeah.
Is thought with some previous or current external stimuli even possible?
Wait, but like you're begging the question by assuming that it's external. Like, how do you know that there's even sense data?
No.
How do you know like a demon's not controlling you or just creating your perceptions?
Okay, because if we're going to say internal versus external, the very fact you're saying internal means that there's the opposite of external.
That's what you've made.
You've given up the ghost as soon as you say internal, dude. You've given it up. You've conceded there is an external world.
Yo, like an idealist would say that which you call external is actually just in your mind.
Well, just in your mind is saying that it's only internal, and you have the same problem because now you created a dichotomy.
Well, I've never said that there's when I say external, right? I'm just referring to that which we perceive. But you're the one that's making the claim that no, it's more than just perception, right? There's a reality outside of the mind, which I'm.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I'm asking you to prove that because like no one can prove it.
No, you've heard that no one can prove it, but I just did prove it.
No, you just begged the question.
No, I didn't. You can't have an internal world without an external world because the internal world, right, acts upon sensations that are experienced in the external world. It doesn't act upon itself. No, I'm not. Because
that's the thing.
How can it act upon itself?
I'm asking you to prove.
How can nothing act upon nothing?
Wait, like prove that there is this thing called sense
How can
data,
how can nothing act upon nothing?
Okay, like an idealist would say that there is something, and that something is just the mind.
But but how is the mind created, dude? What does the mind act on?
How the mind is created or causal connections between mental objects is irrelevant. Like the what is relevant is proof that.
No, it's not irrelevant.
More than just
because you don't have mental objects without an external stimuli.
You're just saying that. Like, prove it. What's your argument?
Okay, because my argument I just told you. Because without some a priori external stimuli, there's nothing from which the mind to act on, including itself.
Prove it.
The ancestors, dude.
Nothing can work upon nothing, dude. That is proof. It's literally a mathematical proof.
An idealist would just respond with no, like you have an immaterial mind.
Yeah, I know. They just decide with like you are.
Well, like yeah, because you're making a claim, and then I ask you to justify that claim, and your justification is because it can't.
No, that's not anything even remotely what I said. I said nothing can't act upon nothing.
Yeah, sure. There is the mind. There we go.
No, where did that come from?
Let's say it came from God. Next. Carry on. What's your proof?
What do you mean? Let's say it came from God. What does that mean? Is God external to the mind?
An idealist would say that no, they're not. An idealist might say that all minds are contained within one mind called the mind of God. And so it's all one internal mind.
Well, you just said contained within. That means there's an external world.
That external world being the mind of God, yeah.
So what? It's external to you, right?
It's external to one mind, but the claim that you're making is that there's sense data inducing perceptions. Like there's an external world that is creating your perceptions because there's sense data that a mind is taking in and interpreting. That's what you need to prove. Because how do you know that we're not all just within the mind of God?
Because there can't be a mind without an external world. I keep telling you over and over again. It can't exist because it has nothing to act on.
So, Indio, if God existed before creation, that would be an example of a mind existing without an external world. So I think he might be right about it's hard to prove, but it doesn't matter because you don't need a proof for the external world. It's a properly basic belief.
I wouldn't say so. I think thoughts are so you can call that a properly basic belief, like you're having thoughts, but the nature or source of those thoughts and the ontology of the reality containing those thoughts, that's where it gets really, really tricky. That's where you can't really prove anything because you can't step outside of your mind to make claims about the reality. That's
Yeah,
the point I'm making.
Yeah, you can.
No, you can't.
You can ask me.
Your parents were here before you, and all of your elders were here before you.
Yeah,
And people will
there
be
are
here after
minds.
you.
There are minds that
I
are
can't know
outside
that.
of your mind that can tell you that you exist.
I can't know that. Like those could just be.
How do you not know that? Then who are you talking to, yourself?
Those could be false perceptions. You could be false perceptions. I
You're
could be
talking
in
to
a
yourself.
right now. There's no
So you're
way.
talking to yourself about entities that somehow you created mentally that have no bearing on any external world. They're a complete fabrication and creation of your own mind, and you're talking to them, saying and just pretending that those fictitious humans, they're saying, yes, you have a mind. No, you're not really telling me that. That's me telling myself, yes, I have a mind.
Yeah, I don't know if other minds exist but mine.
Oh, fucking brother.
Indio,
Like,
how do we
this
get
is
from
just
gravity to
I don't know
this?
what you're complaining about. Like, you have no way of proving that I am a mind.
I
You just
already
have
did.
no perception.
I already did.
No, you didn't.
Okay. See, you've taken a viewpoint, right? Your presupposition is that the eternal world has primacy over the external world. Because that's the way you interact with it, with your mind. The external world exists independent of your mind, dude.
But that's what I'm asking you to prove. And your proof
I
is
did,
just
because
that, well,
if
you
there
can't...
was no... then I did by telling you, if there was no external world, if there was no external world, if there was no external world, what is your mind acting upon? And where did it find the reference from which to act with?
a Cartesian might say is inducing those actions.
Even if the external world is a complete mental construct, you differentiate it within your mind, creating a distinction. Internal. This is internal. This is external.
This idea
but
comes
if
from
there's no
Hinduism.
external world, then dude, that's just a false distinction. Like that would just be a false perception. Like when you have false perceptions, what are they called? Optical illusions. Yeah, your differentiation between your internal mind and the external world could just be an optical illusion. Like, how do you know that's not the case?
But you created it with your mind, dude.
This idea is like from the Hinduism. It says everything is happening inside of you. The outside is Maya, it's illusion. So this is what makes...
The problem here is that it's self-referential, right? So if you think of it as, you can almost think of it as like a nested set or a nested container. You have a container. Let's say we have this thing called the mind. It's the container, and there's no external world. Well, within your mind, your little internal world. That's all there is. You go, hey man, I'm having all these hallucinations that appear to be outside my mind. Well, I'm going to create this distinction and classify those as external, and I'm going to draw arbitrarily fucking line by definition that says those things that I think with my mind that aren't really external, I'm going to consider them as an external world. And I've created the distinction, okay, in my own mind.
Wait,
right?
but now
so I have a space, and I've taken that space and I've cut it in half. Okay? I've cut it in half. And you're trying to say, well, even though I made this distinction in the mind, and I said this half is external and that half is internal, I'm going to look at the thing that I said is external, and I'm going to say, well, I don't really know that's external, even though I created the distinction myself internally. It doesn't even matter. By definition, we've created a distinction. This is internal, that's fucking external. Okay? And if you don't have something external, you have nothing for your mind to even fucking think about. It can't think about itself because the mind itself doesn't exist without some external reference. Because it's all relative to something else, right? It's all relative to something. The way we think, right, is... Well, think about the way we think is by making distinctions between things. Particular, right? Okay. So this particular over here, there's some separation that you perceive. Now, whether that's an artificial separation or an actual separation is irrelevant.
Oh, yeah, no, we're not talking about whether or not, like, you're probably talking about mereology, like, do composites exist or do we construct them? But I'm saying, how do you know that that table you're looking at actually is a table that exists independent of your mind or purely a construction of the mind? How do you know one or the other?
Because, you know what? Because if it's pitch black and I don't know what's there, I'll fucking trip over it.
How about I made it?
Yeah, but how do you know that you're tripping? How do you know that you're tripping over?
If the external world is a construct, how come you can be hurt by shit you didn't even know? How can you be hurt by shit you didn't even know was there in the first place?
Oh, because the demon put it there, and he's making... Sorry, no, he didn't put it there.
Demon?
He put it in your mind. Oh,
the demon that's external to you?
Yeah.
Oh, there is an external world. Thank you. Case closed.
Yeah, but are you just saying external or physically external?
Oh, God, dude. We're going to dig down into fucking external. External to your mind, dude. There's a world external to your mind. Well, but in this case,
it wouldn't be external to my mind. It would be there would be a world outside of my mind.
You don't actually believe anything you're saying. That's the hilarious part. You guys argue shit you don't actually believe. You don't actually believe any of this shit.
I don't know how you're not tracking this. Like, in this scenario, there is no chair. There's just a demon.
Then how come it hurt? How come I fell over? How come I didn't know it's there?
Because the demon injected those.
Where did the demon come from? Where did the demon come from?
It's just always been there since the beginning of time.
That's nonsense, dude. Look at the mental gymnastics you have to do. You really have to. You have to appeal the fucking timeless fucking infinity.
Isn't that what God is? I don't know if you believe in God or not, but like that's not a new idea.
God's a demon now.
No, he's
well, we could change it to God. The reason why Descartes used the demon is because he believed that an ethical God.
Why do you follow this guy's train of thought, man? Like Descartes.
Oh, hold on.
What is so special about like trying to think perceptually, like as if?
I mean, he invented calculus, so he's a pretty smart guy.
Just let me wrap this up with him real quick.
On a couple things.
Alpha, just let me wrap this up real quick. Now, think about what you just did for the last 30 minutes, Mage. Pleading and saying, I don't even know the external world exists. Well, 30 minutes ago, you're trying to convince me that an abstract mathematical fucking variable was real in the physical world.
No.
Now you're saying you don't even know the physical world exists.
Yeah, that's a philosophical, side.
What's the difference? There's no difference there, dude.
I'm honest enough to say that I can't know if there's an external world. I'm taking that on assumption.
Do you know if mass exists?
Mass exists in the sense that we construct it
in the external world. Does it exist in the external world?
I don't. We just have models. Like I don't know what it is in the external world. Yeah, the honest answer is I don't know because all we have are models,
dude.
So that's the problem, though. If you don't know, think about it, man. If you don't know anything, then you can't propose to know something.
No, I know things. I know that our models
can't know
are...
things. No. That's the problem, though. That worldview is completely... It implodes when you start to think about if you're able to describe reality in any sense. It implodes.
Yeah, we're just all figments of your imagination.
We're describing reality, but
no, you're not.
Picking at the nature of reality is a very different question.
You cannot describe...
We can describe reality...
You're describing your hallucinations, brother.
Yeah, we
can describe reality, but
there's no reality. You're describing your hallucinations.
Whether or not
you're just describing the hallucination of your internal world.
I don't think is like you can't know that.
Yeah, okay, so you can't know that, right? You can't know that. That's what you keep saying. So if you can't know that, then how can you know some things?
Yeah, you can know the things that we can know are going to be based around what we can perceive, and we can perceive that models
what do you perceive? What do you
He
perceive? The things that
threw
you
out
know. What is?
perception altogether. No, Alpha.
let's-
He threw out perception. He threw it out, saying, "I don't know
With
that
the
anything
table.
that I perceive is real." You threw that shit out a long time ago.
With the table.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if anything I'm perceiving is real.
All right,
We're taking it on
what you're
assumption.
doing?
That's it.
See, this is a giant circle jerk for you. You can't know something, but then there's things that you know, but then there's within those things that you don't know if you know those things.
No, I think you're a bit
it's a
confused.
complete-
like, there's a category
No, you're
of
confused. Why are you saying that I'm confused? I know exactly where you're coming from. Your worldview is completely.
Then let me respond.
It's
the category of propositions
trash,
that we
dude.
can't know is going to be related to what is external to the mind. Like, you can't know, are there really atoms, or is this just a mathematical model?
Okay, you can't know that. What are the things that you said you know?
The things that you can know are, do our models predict reality really well? And they do.
Okay, so you can know that, but how much of a degree do you know that to be true?
To the statistical degree that our model predicts reality correctly.
Yeah, give me a ballpark here. What are we working
So
with?
usually scientists will aim for within like 5% of error.
What are you aiming for? What are you aiming for?
I generally go for 5%. I think that's fair.
Of knowledge of something?
No. Of probability that whatever model you're using to make a prediction, that prediction is correct due to random chance versus your model being correct.
Yeah, so then you may not be correct though. That's a possibility, yeah?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Of course.
Oh, okay. So then,
But Amy, he just conceded that he doesn't know if that model actually is reality. He said that there might be a mathematical model of atoms, but he doesn't really know if the atoms exist. So even if he has a 95% chance that the atom is fucking accurate, even if it was 100% accurate, he doesn't know if that model's real.
Oh no! If it was 100% accurate, then we could say that that's like pure knowledge.
But you'll never reach that
nothing
conclusion,
of the
right?
sort can be said. Any measurement you make is always going to be uncertain.
He'll never reach that conclusion, Indio. So in his worldview, there's nothing that he's ever certain of at any time. Even if he says he can know some things, when he's saying that, the audience doesn't understand to what level of degree he's saying it to. He doesn't know it to be true 100%. He's saying the things that he can know is only at a variable scale. So he's not going to know them to be true like what we would say foundationally or truthfully.
And this is going to be true for everyone, right? Like, the only things that any mind could probably know with beyond a shadow of a doubt is that they exist.
Guys, straight man here.
Like a mind is having
hear what he
thought.
said.
Like, that's
What
something
is the
I
last
know
thing you
for a
said?
fact.
The guy
like, I don't need
interjected you.
anyone else
Hold on.
to prove it for me.
Mage. What is the last thing you said? The other guy interjected when you were finishing.
Oh, I said that the only thing I can truly know is that I have thoughts, but everything else is up for grabs.
Okay, truly know as in what percentage are we using with the truly know?
Oh, like, in this case, there's no percentage, right? There's just I know.
100%?
It doesn't make sense to apply a percentage here because we're not making a prediction.
Because a certain a certainty where you can't be moved.
Like a certain, not in a Bayesian sense, just in an internal confidence sense. Yeah, I'm 100% confident that I'm having
absolutely
thoughts.
True. It's absolutely true. Yeah.
Yeah, that is the only absolute truth that I can say. Everything else is up for grabs. Everything else is going to be I could be wrong about this. That's going to be everyone.
But then again, is this coming from the internal world or the external world?
So if we're taking on assumption that there is an external world, then this is going to be about the external world.
Okay, so now you're assuming that the external world can be known with this absolute that you're saying on a percentage.
No. We're assuming that the external world even exists. Like, even exists. I don't even know if it exists.
And there's an absolute in that?
No. There's no absolute. Oh, the absolute that I can't know if the external world exists?
Yeah.
I mean, I would just take yes, but that's the same thing as saying that all I can know are my thoughts. Like, it's just restating.
Yeah, all you can know are your thoughts, but you're saying that you can be absolute with that, yeah?
Yeah, that's the only thing I can be absolute with.
And what makes you so sure that you're not just delusional?
Well, because then there would be something that is deluded, which would be me. So
yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. How come you don't know that you're not flawed? What if you could be schizophrenic?
Well, then it would still be the case that I'm having thoughts.
Right, but how do you know their thoughts? What if they're just somebody else's thoughts that you're just mimicking?
Then it would still be the case that I'm having thoughts, just someone else's thoughts.
Yeah, but the thoughts themselves are not yours.
Yeah. So then you're talking about the self, and so let's just remove the self. There
Well, then if
exists
you do that,
something which I'm going to call Mage.
The internal
and
world
this
is
Mage,
gone. The external
is
world was
perceiving
gone. Now the
thoughts
internal
in
world
this
is
current
taken
moment.
away. And the external world is taken away. Now the internal world that you thought maybe that's a last ditch effort to hold on to something. Well, that's taken away now because I've already told you. What if you were delusional and somebody else was feeding you these thoughts that you're mimicking, and you didn't know if they were yours or not. You couldn't differentiate if they were your thoughts or not, but you thought they were, but you didn't
I don't
know. You
believe in
can't
the
be too
self.
sure if they were your thoughts.
So I'm not saying my versus their thoughts. Like I don't even believe in a self. All I'm saying is that there is something having thoughts, and it's localized here called Mage.
Yeah, but how do you know that?
Because I'm having them right now.
Yeah. So what? So what? What if they're? What if you're just a? What if you're just a figment of my imagination? What if you're just a figment? What if you're just a figment of my imagination, Mage? Mage. What if you're a figment of my imagination?
Then I would still be having thoughts, just in your imagination.
Yeah, but telling me that you have thoughts.
Yeah. Oh, are you saying like you don't know if I exist as a mind?
No. You're declaring that you do, right? Internally, you say that everything that you feel is what you say is true. But what if you're just a figment of my imagination and you're not really real, saying that you're having these thoughts?
Yeah, that's a completely fair thing to say. You can't know that I'm having thoughts, and that's why I said
I could write you off and say that you could be incorrect to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I said like I don't have to prove it to anyone, and I don't need anyone to prove it to me.
Yeah, I know that, but what I'm saying is you can therefore say that what you're saying is true. Absolutely, that your thoughts
I know
are
it's
yours.
true. I know it's true.
What I'm
I just
saying
can't convince you.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if you convince me or not.
There's nothing I can say that can convince you that I'm perceiving things.
So then what does that mean then? We're living in a world where nobody makes any logical sense anymore because I've concluded that you're just a figment of my imagination saying that you think that you have internal thoughts that are consistent with you saying that internally you can say absolutely thoughts are your own. And I'm telling you that you're just saying that I'm hearing voices right now in my head saying that that's true. But what if you're just a figment of it, my imagination?
And overdrive, that's the epistemically honest position, and it's called the problem of hard solipsism. You can't know if the things that you're perceiving exist outside of your mind. All you can know is that you're having thoughts. I can't know that.
Yeah, but the thing is, I could ask myself the same question. What if my thoughts aren't coming from me? What if they were coming from Indio? What if I'm a figment of his imagination?
At the end of the day.
What if I was a figment of his imagination and I'm telling myself that? What problem do I have then?
Then that's just the problem of hard solipsism. He can't convince you that he's having thoughts.
No. I'm telling you from my perspective. You could say that for your perspective. Even though I thought of thoughts, what if my thoughts are actually given to me and not of my own?
Then you would still be having thoughts. What is confusing?
Yeah, but they're not mine. So they couldn't claim.
Forget about the self. Like when I say you, I forget the self. Right? I'm just referring to that thing in space, which is having thoughts.
So what are thoughts?
Whatever is the subject of the mind.
Okay, how do you define the mind?
Yeah, that's
it's the thought.
No idea. Yeah. If you are a mind, then you know what a mind is. But I don't know how to define a mind for something that's a non-mind.
How do I know what a mind is?
Let me get this straight.
Go ahead.
Hold on, Albert. Mage, let me get this straight.
All the thoughts, all of the opinions, the perceptions. That's your mind. But what are those things? That's pretty hard to define for somebody who doesn't have a mind.
So, Mage, let me get this straight. There's a possibility that there is no external world, that you're a figment of my imagination trying to convince me that you don't exist?
Yeah. I think that's a possibility, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
So you're saying that you were saying that it's my mind. So whose mind is it? So there is somebody outside of your mind, right? That's what you're saying?
Maybe.
So if you're a figment of my imagination convincing me that you don't exist, what's trying to convince me that it don't exist? It's non-existing.
Yeah,
the non-existing thing.
Give like a
The very act of something trying to convince me that it doesn't exist proves that it exists.
Yeah, no, because like it could just be a demon tricking you.
Yeah, it would have to exist. The demon would have to exist, right?
External.
Yeah. Well, like if we're going back to the argument of is there an external world, like if you're saying something external to the mind, like another mind, like I've already conceded that, but it seems like what you're saying is that no, there's like a physical world that like there's sense data. This is like a physicalist view.
There is the reality in which we exist in. There is the external and internal. There's the physical, and there's not the metaphysical, which would be emotions and all of that. So
I'm fine taking that on assumption, but this whole tangent was because he thinks he can prove that. Like, which
it doesn't matter.
I did prove it. Like you just don't understand that it was proven because.
Yeah, sure, buddy.
To argue against it's a contradiction.
It's okay, sure.
You're in a performative contradiction. You're trying to say, "Oh, you can't prove there's anything external to you," but there's something external to me telling me that. Saying it doesn't, I can't prove it. It doesn't exist. But the very fact of me perceiving that there's something external to me telling me it doesn't exist proves that it does exist.
All you have are perceptions. Whether or not those perceptions are real or corresponding to real objects, you have no way of knowing.
You know what the funny thing is? Hold on, Mage. You know the funny thing is that you have to borrow from a worldview that logic exists in order to have this conversation. Did you know that, Mage? In order for you to have a coherent conversation about thoughts that you say that you don't have or that you do have, you have to borrow from a worldview that actually lends over the idea that we have to speak to each other in a way that's coherent. And logic would then be the way that we would be able to pursue a conversation like this. Without it, there would be no coherence. It would be illogical and just discombobulated gibberish. You wouldn't be able to make any sense of anything. So the fact that we're using a standard to speak to each other right now with words that mean things, that means that you're borrowing from that worldview that actually means something and words have meaning. But then you want to go to this idea using logic that things don't have any coherence. It's just asinine, dude.
No, that's not what I said. I don't know if you're tracking. Like,
no, it's what you're portraying. It's this character that you're portraying. You're portraying a character that you don't have to be held accountable for the things that you say or do based on this, completely erroneous worldview.
How is any of this relevant to whether or not there's a external reality?
You're borrowing from logic right now in order to have this conversation right now. The standard that which we speak to each other.
Yeah, I could be a mind that's capable of logic, and there's no external physical reality. Like, those are not mutually exclusive. What's your point?
Do you have a body? Do you have a body?
I don't know. I perceive a body.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, this is...
Okay, let's hold on, dude. Let's fucking end this nonsense. And
yes, please.
The point of this exercise was it's well known that mass is just an abstract concept, but you tried to reify it so hard. But when we dig down into your own fucking worldview, you can't even reify yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody can prove external physical reality exists.
You don't have the same standard. You're just a fundy zealot for the globe, and that's all there is to it.
You want to make it seem like you want to make it seem like your knowledge reigns supreme, and it doesn't. Just because you can say that you don't have to be held accountable to things that you say.
Well, hang on a sec. You don't need to prove external reality. Even Nextborn said that substance is the self-evident.
Substance is self-evident, really?
Yes.
Is my cum self-evident? That's substance.
You're going to change the
give
world.
an example of how it's self-evident. If you don't know something's there and you trip over it, your mind couldn't have possibly created it.
Can I trip over the edge of the earth then? Because it's
what edge?
Even in physical reality, right? Even if we take it on assumption, there are people in physical reality that perceive things which are not there. Sights, sounds, and touch that are not.
You know
there's no physical source.
You want to know what they do?
Of course you can.
And then what happens,
Mage?
But then what happens?
They medicate it.
When they perceive things that's not there, they go, something's wrong with me. I need to go to the doctor.
They do? Really?
Yeah, they do.
I didn't know that every schizophrenic knew that they were schizophrenic. Holy shit.
Yeah, they do, dude. They do.
No, it's not. That's not true.
What's the evidence of a globe Earth is the 24-hour sun.
Hold on, dude. The problem is whenever you, like, Indio gave you a perfect example. Think about it like this. You give an example of somebody who's not in their right mind or that probably has a condition, right? So if you're, like, Indio would describe somebody in the dark, right, going to get a glass of water in the middle of the night, and they stub their toe against, a table they didn't know that was there, right? Let's just say that would be the case. He didn't render it into reality. It's just there. Outside of themselves, they stub their toe, right? That's one thing. Then there's the other guy, right? The one that needs medication, perhaps. That guy is saying that there's a table there, but third-party perspective confirmed that there is no table there. So we can see, like, the thing is, right, when Indio would have stubbed his toe, right, when he was getting his glass of water, he turned the lights on, and maybe his wife comes out and says, hey, you didn't see that table there? She could see the table there. But in the case for the guy that needed medication, of course, he said there was a table there, but there wasn't one there. Yeah, you get it?
Right.
Externally, there wasn't a table there, but in Indio's case, there was.
Everyone but that one guy doesn't.
So then you can't then therefore say that something that exists externally from you is there or not there based on somebody's just trying to think about it rendering in reality based on their own mind, saying that something's there. That doesn't follow, because whether or not you think something's there, it is there.
Yeah, but you can't know that.
Hold on. We're going to take an intermission.
How do you know?
We're going to take an intermission on this subject. I want to deal with Blue Mania for a second. He's talking shit in the chat. This will be very brief. Bluey Mania.
Yeah, I was on the side.
No, hold on. Before you start yapping, can you tell us how a 24-hour sun proves the globe?
The 24-hour...
How it proves the globe. Can you tell us how? Yeah,
it's a 24-hour sun. How can a 24-hour sun be? How can there be a 24-hour sun on a non-globe model?
Okay, why are you asking me a question? I'm asking you how a 24-hour sun proves the globe, and you're asking me a question.
How does it prove it?
Why are you asking me a question? I'm asking you a question. You said 24-hour sun proves the globe. I asked you, how does it prove a globe?
Okay, the way it proves how globe is because of the 23rd axial tilt, right?
Okay.
And the Earth is in a position of its orbit that the tilt means that a part of the globe, but the North Atlantic Circle, plus some other areas, are covered in 24-hour sun.
Okay, so how does that prove the Earth's a globe again?
How can you help?
Because you just said it proves the tilt. You didn't say it proves a globe, right? So what if we saw a 48-hour sun? Could the Earth still be a globe?
Now you're misrepresenting what I said. I said
could the Earth still be a globe if there was a 48-hour sun? Yes or no?
What? No, now you're misrepresenting what I said. What I said
could the Earth still be a globe if there was a 48-hour sun? Yes or no?
But there's no 48-hour sun.
If there was, would it still be a globe?
Well, no, because it would be unrealistic, right? That's not.
No, the Earth would just spin fast. The Earth would just spin slower, right?
Yeah. The thing is,
the Earth would just spin slower, right? You're not listening to the answers, dude. Dude, no. You're not. Listen, motherfucker. You're not the mod in here. I am. Okay. It would just mean that the Earth spins at half the speed, but it would still be a globe. Okay. So I want to know how a 24-hour sun proves a globe.
Do I have to repeat myself twice? Or I'll tell you if you want to misrepresent my position.
No, you mentioned you didn't say. You said something about the tilt, dude. You didn't say anything about how it proves a globe.
I said it's because of the 23-degree axial tilt, and that Earth is in a position of its orbit, and orbit cannot exist if it's not a globe. That the tilt means that parts of the globe north of the Arctic Circle plus some are always lit by the sun, right? Conversely, you have parts of Antarctica which is currently having months-long winter nights.
That's great. We know the story, dude. We know the story, okay? That's a cool story, but I want to know how it proves a globe.
Story, then why do you ask?
You're not telling me how it proves a globe, dude.
I'm telling you how it proves a globe. I literally just said it.
No, you're telling me how it would work if it is a globe, But you're not telling me how it proves the globe.
I said it proves a globe because that's how it works. That's literally how it works.
No.
Like,
Okay.
is there any way
give it an illogical syllogism. Okay, give it an illogical syllogism like this.
Can I finish what I'm saying? Let me finish what I'm saying.
No, you said it proves a globe. There's only one way to prove things. It's using deductive logic. So we want it in a syllogism. I went to Antarctica. I saw the 24-hour sun. That's premise one.
Wait, no. Full stop. You think
premise two is ...
Is the only logic that can prove things? You're out of your depth, dude. You're crazy.
Oh, you can prove things with non-deductive logic? Which one?
Dude, there's almost an infinite amount of logic. Yes. Like, what are you talking?
There's an infinite amount of logic. It's fucking nutball, bro.
Don't let him devolve the conversation.
Okay, hold up.
Yeah.
Look, hold up. Hold on.
No, I'm going to finish what I said before I was interrupted, motherfucker. You're not in charge here. You're not in charge. Okay? So, really simple. We're going to do a logical syllogism. You know what one of those are? You know what a logical syllogism is? It's how you prove things. So I'll give you an example. Aristotle's a man. True statement. All men are mortal. True statement. Therefore, Aristotle is mortal.
Yes.
Right? So that proves that if those two premises are true, the conclusion is true. Okay? Real simple. We see a 24-hour sun. True statement. ...
Yes.
Therefore, the Earth is a globe. So give us the ...
The ... what?
Yeah, the premise is the second premise. So the first premise is we see a 24-hour sun. True statement. The second premise is whatever you think you have to add to that to say therefore the Earth's a globe.
Well, first would be okay, like you said, we can observe a 24-hour sun.
Okay.
Then the second premise would be that on a globe Earth model, that would mean that the Earth is there for a globe, right? Like I said, because of the
globe Earth model would mean it's a globe. So the globe proves the globe. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, because the premise is that does this prove that the globe Earth model is, which is real, right? And that is in fact true.
You know what this is? This is called Ipsy Dixit, where you're just saying the same claim over and over again. It's a globe because it's a globe because it's a globe.
Right, it's not even circular reasoning. It's like it's before that even. You didn't even get to be circular. It's just
okay. So it's really simple. I saw. Did he bounce? He just fucking dip. You motherfucker, bitch.
Oh, that's what they do when they're held to account. They dip. Unless they want to make it their own show, then they just talk forever.
Well, I mean, he was like, the easiest proof of a globe is a 24-hour sun. You got Lego in the chat. Yeah, man. So I'm like, we got to put Mage on fucking back burner, man. I got to deal with this shit. Anyway, sorry, Alpha. Fucking Alpha dip too. Shit, man. Not so bad.
Mage, you can put Mage on perma-mute, man. I mean, you know where he goes. Unless you want to just keep doing that thing that...
I mean, I don't... Like, I was only bringing that up because I knew it was going to... I didn't want to go that deep into it. I hear you giggling. Adoka, how are you?
Dude, is that one of those yes means no and no means yes? If you don't know the answer, you shouldn't ask?
Yeah, probably. Okay, Mage, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. If your statement or claim contains a logical fallacy, can you prove something with it?
Contains a logical fallacy? Can you prove
things with logical fallacies?
So I don't understand your question. Statements themselves.
Can you make a proposition with a logical fallacy in it and prove something?
Propositions don't. Okay, sure. Yeah, I'll just say yes. Like
you can prove things true with logical fallacies.
Arguments are fallacious, not propositions. This is like day one stuff, dude.
Okay. A proposition. Is Aristotle a man? A proposition? Aristotle is a man. Is that a proposition?
That is a proposition. Yeah.
Okay. So it's propositional logic. If my proposition contains a logical fallacy, can it prove something? Like Aristotle doesn't exist. So if I said Aristotle doesn't exist,
give me an example of a single proposition.
Aristotle doesn't exist.
How is that fallacious? Like what fallacy is that committing? A single proposition. Then you're applying. Then it's a group of propositions, not a. So again, your question is ill-formed because fallacies apply to groups of propositions.
Okay, how about this? All sentences are true except this one.
What about that particular proposition?
The contradiction.
Okay.
You would know.
Yeah, I would, because I stuck your dick and you came in my mouth and I drank it.
That seems about right.
You're saying it's a self-defeating proposition, but what's the fallacy here? That's not a fallacy.
It's a contradiction.
Dude.
You know what a contradiction is?
Yeah, a contradiction is two propositions one proposition where the negation is taken to also be true.
No, the truth and negation exist in the same proposition. Okay? The affirmative and the negative exist in the same proposition. The affirmative and the negative exist in the same proposition. Okay? But you're trying to be pedantic. You know what I'm talking about. Can you prove things using logical fallacies? Yes or fucking no?
So, like, if a group of propositions is
yes
fallacious,
or no? You're only going to be allowed to say yes or no. Can you prove things using logical fallacies? Yes or no?
I guess I'll just say no.
Okay. All inductive logic claims involve the logical fallacy of affirming the fucking consequence.
Oh, they do?
All of them. Yes.
All of them?
All of them.
Can you tell me what affirming the consequent is?
It's a logical fallacy. If P, then Q, Q, therefore P.
Yeah, right. What's your point?
Okay, goodbye.
Okay.
Playing dumb is not going to work, dude. I said deductive logic is the only methodology to prove things. So there's only abductive. Well, I guess it's reductive. But abductive, inductive, deductive, and reductive logic, the only one that can prove things is deductive, because the other three forms have logical fallacies in them. Because they can't prove things.
You know what's funny is they only make a logical fallacy is if you use them to make a conclusion of the truth of the statement.
Oh yeah.
So if you end in therefore this is true, then you make the fallacy. But if you say therefore this could be true, then you don't.
She was about 3 to 4 days old, standing outside.
Yeah, but they can't bring themselves to use the word could.
What can do is interrogate and disprove something. You don't have an actual conversation.
Why don't you? Yeah, that's all we do. We interrogate the sphere and disprove it. Well done.
Prove it wrong.
Well done. You think that science deals with shapes? It's like you've never heard of geometry before.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't. What's the dependent variable for a triangle?
Doesn't fucking matter. It ties into it.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Very upset, triggered woman.
She's too triggered.
What's the dependent variable for a triangle?
Angle.
No, that's a.
What the fuck? Like, why do you need to know this? It doesn't matter. This isn't even what I was speaking about.
You asked for science. Again, I'm telling you, I can't give it to you for shapes.
So first of all, like, I did not learn.
Maybe listen to the words.
No, you need to answer my question.
Don't listen to the words. English isn't my first language, so I'm not going to listen carefully to the words.
No, what I
you
said was that you
ignorant?
guys only ask certain
Arrogant?
questions. No, you guys ask certain questions that's not even related so that you can respond to it, and then you act all big and with a big ego just because you could be able to respond to something. But whenever I ask something, you go off and then you go ahead and ask me another question. You can only ask questions. You can never answer questions. I
Oh, I
ask for
can answer
proof and you
questions.
can't. The only
I
proof you
can't.
can give me is by asking me a question. Is that not true?
Excuse me. Did you ask me to prove how the surface of the Earth was measured to be horizontal?
Yes, I asked you to prove.
I started answering you that, and you started
then go
talking
on.
through me like you're
Go
talking
on.
through me now.
Go on. You have the floor.
Fucking
Shut
hell.
up, then. Shut up.
It's like I have to explain very simple things to you. Right? One, we're not going to be doing science here. What we're going to be doing is measuring and surveying the land around us. We're going to use line of sight, laser and signal transmissions, which require a direct line of sight. When we measure the surface of the Earth, for example, with a laser, we find that the laser measurably passes horizontally across the water. There is no increase in distance the further the tangent gets from the presupposed sphere. When we pass lasers over all bodies of water, when we survey the land with technology, we operate from and measure a horizontal Earth. Would you like the evidence?
How far can the lasers go?
Right, so far I can give you a laser test that's 23.8 miles. I can cite military technology that is quoted over 50 kilometres.
That's not enough. That's not the surface of the Earth.
How much curvature should there be over the surface of the Earth? Do you know the equation?
No.
Okay, it's 8 inches per mile squared. That means after 1 mile, point B would have descended by 8 inches. After 10 miles, that's 66 feet. Over 10 miles, you should measure 60 feet of descent from point A to point B. I can give you a laser test of 28 miles where there is no measured drop over distance. Would you like it?
So is this only over water, or is this also over land?
Okay, so we do multiple over water, over frozen lakes, sea, salt flats, and indeed other parts of the land. Yeah, mountain to mountain. We
Okay,
all
so it's
do
not over
this.
flat land.
No, water would have to be convex if it was on a sphere, wouldn't it?
So again, it's not over flat land.
Yeah,
It's only
over flat land. In the States, they have sayings like Kansas is super flat. I'm in Florida. Florida's super flat. So yes, over flat land, yes.
Yeah, Holland's
okay. Then show
super
me the
flat.
proof. Give me the studies, and it better be studies and not some YouTube or image or anything. I want an actual study.
Would you like measurements from the US Geological Society?
Yes, please.
Okay, give me 10 minutes. I'll find them for you. Thank you for at least taking part in the conversation.
I have a question, Jedi. So you obviously are a flat earther, correct?
Yeah, I'm trying to find this stuff for this young lady. Would you mind asking a question to someone else? Thank you.
Well, I was going to ask you why do you believe
the world is flat? All right, go on, quickly then.
I was going to ask you why do you believe the world is flat?
Don't ask him that. He's not going. He's going to ask you.
Shut up. He didn't ask you.
Seriously, young lady, I'm going to try and find you evidence. Now you're going to backstab me whilst I've turned away? Fuck off. Sorry, what was your question again, mate?
Sorry,
she can wait now.
Why do you believe the world is flat?
Well, because I understand that water, when contained and at rest, is measured and utilised as a horizontal datum. We use the horizontal Earth to get elevation and depth. Do you know what a right angle triangle is? Because we use a right angle triangle to measure elevation and depth.
So what about all the pictures, like the ancient Greeks, believe the world is round. There's many photographs been taken by telescopes of other planets. What do you think about space, by the way? Like, there's many photos. I'm not talking about NASA. We can agree that NASA, isn't the best source of information, but NASA. I don't see there is a possibility NASA could be fake. So I'm not going to turn around and dispute that. However, what about all the photographs we can gather using telescopes and all that from planets? And how come they're round?
Okay, so yes, things in the sky are round. Doesn't mean that the thing that you're standing on is round. You can ask the question though, because those things are round. I wonder if I'm standing on a rotating sphere, like those things are rotating spheres. Now you can measure the Earth to see if it's a rotating sphere. You can't just come to the conclusion that because you see a tree, you're also a tree. You're going to have to measure yourself. You're going to have to look at yourself. You're going to have to study yourself. And when you do those things, you'll find out you're not a tree. Now, when you're talking about NASA, you were speaking about a lot of telescopes pointing away from the Earth. We're talking about the actual Earth. What were the other many points that you brought up?
So if the world is flat, how come you can go around it and you meet the same point? Like, you can go around it endlessly.
Okay. Think about what you asked. When you go around. When you go around, that's a circle, isn't it?
Well, it's also a sphere.
No, I'm asking you when you go around.
You can go around the sphere, can't you?
Can you go around on a flat surface?
No, the Earth isn't a rock, it's an atmosphere.
No, dude, I'm just asking. This is what happens. I ask people salient questions so they can think and they don't answer. Can you go around on a flat surface?
Well, presumably, yeah.
Thanks. It's like, you want me to explain going around?
Really, Jedi? Seriously?
But the Earth is an atmosphere. Like, when you go into the Earth, isn't like the moon. The moon doesn't have an atmosphere, and you can walk on the moon. The moon has no atmosphere, but the Earth has an atmosphere. So that's why you can go around.
Because I mean, dude, if you're talking about going to the moon and being able to breathe it, that's because you took a container of gas, because you didn't have a container for the gas. The gas would fuck off. The same thing with the Earth. If it doesn't have a container around it, the gas will fuck off. So no one's gone to the moon, because the vacuum is a violation of a law of nature known as the second law of thermodynamics. Quite simply explained, gas expands into space. That's the law of nature. So no one's gone to the moon to find it hard to breathe.
No, I didn't say that. I said that like the moon has no atmosphere, whereas Earth has an atmosphere. That's why when you go inside the Earth, like Earth is able to be round. Oh, you can go around it.
Sorry, we've got gas, therefore the Earth is able to be round. What? Right, make these things join up, dude. I hope you're trying to form some kind of logical syllogism, bringing up point.
The thing is, it doesn't make any sense, because like what you're trying to argue is that like you basically you're trying to argue that because the world is like you can go around on the surface, that means the world's flat. I just don't see that's a good argument.
No. You asked me to explain going around, right? I'm not saying that going around. Listen, I'm not explaining that going around proves the Earth is flat. You seem to be under the misconception that you could only go around on curved surfaces like a sphere. I was trying to point out to you that's ridiculous. You can go around in circles on flat surfaces. That doesn't prove the surface either way. Maybe listen better.
My question to you is, why do you believe the world's flat? And you answered me and you said, well, that's because, can you go around on a flat surface? I was like, well, yeah.
No, I told you how the Earth was measured flat. I asked you if you understood what a right angle triangle was, because we used that to figure out the elevation of a mountain. You were the one who asked me to explain going around in circles. Again, you're acting like the woman before.
Yes, but how does that mean
all the way through you? How does that you're saying, because he's talking all the way through you?
How does that mean the world is flat though?
What, when it's measured flat?
No, but that doesn't mean the world's flat.
Hold on. When you measure... let me start here. Is 70% of the surface of the Earth water?
Yes.
Cool. Water is observed... Listen. Water is observed, measured, and practically used at all distances as a horizontal reference datum. That means that the surface is observed, measured, and practically used as flat. Now, it's a contradiction to say that a horizontal line... zero rate of change of slope is curvature, a rate of change of slope. It's a mathematical contradiction.
So why are you the new scientific? Like, are you basically saying all the scientists?
I don't know fucking science here. I was talking about measurements.
Okay, but you're trying to argue because of all these. Let's assume you're correct, right? That still doesn't mean the world's round. The world is flat. So it doesn't mean the world's flat.
So it's measured that way.
But it doesn't mean the world's flat, though. Your arguments don't prove the world's flat.
Maybe I should give you an analogy. If I make the claim that I'm 6 foot tall, how do you think I'm going to prove it?
Measurement, but also sight, visible sight. That's a logical. Also, you're providing a logical.
My God, it's like weird. Would that be an empirical standard that would identify you?
Dude, you just made a logical fallacy. That was horrendous argument.
Would that be an empirical standard that would identify you?
No, because the argument you're making here is, can you measure somebody's height? I'm answering the question. I'm
talking about measurements.
Yes, you're talking about measurements, but that is a horrendous.
Okay, so when I've measured something, sorry, dude, please. For the love of God, when I've measured something, can I identify it as what I have measured?
Yes, but that doesn't work in the same way of measuring the planet. That's a horrendous analogy. That's a logical fallacy, actually.
Actually, I'm just pointing out to you. Hold on. Just pointing out to you that measurement is an empirical standard, isn't it?
Yes, but the world doesn't.
So we can go on with that empirical standard to measure the Earth, can't we?
But you're only measuring the measurement of somebody's height doesn't work in the same way.
Listen to the analogy.
No, the analogy is wrong. The analogy is just retarded. It doesn't make any sense.
Listen. You've agreed that measurement is an empirical standard, isn't it?
Yes, it is, but you can't use that in the same context of measuring the planet.
So we can then go on and measure the Earth. The measurements that we take will be empirical, won't they?
Yes, but the thing is, I think you fail to understand how we know the world is round. We have so much evidence to say otherwise.
Is it measured?
Is it not measured? I'm going to ask you right now. I'm going to ask you a new question. How do
you're going to run away from this now? How honest of you?
How do you know? Why do you think? Why do you?
How honest of you?
I want to get to the bottom of why you think the world is flat. So if you're going to try rebuke, you're going to try rebuke all the evidence. All the evidence. All the evidence for the world being round. You're going to try
Number one.
Let's just keep.
So all the evidence for the world being round, you're going to try and rebuke that?
Number one.
How can you do that?
Number one. You said all. Okay, we're always going to start with 1. Let's start with 1. What's 1?
A number.
Okay, what's the first piece of evidence, you silly little child?
This is what can you?
No, you said all of the evidence. So let's start going through all of the evidence. Or are you going to run away from that claim like you did the last one?
Well, I'm not. All right. Instead of using this retarded analogy with me, just tell me why you think all of the world's evidence for it being round is fake. Yeah. Don't use the analogy. Don't say what is 1. Don't say what is 1. Just fucking get to the point and say here is the reason.
Calm your fucking self down. I've told you 12 times because it's measured that way.
No, I'm asking you why you think all of the evidence for the world being round is false.
Because the Earth measures flat. For example, if you go to space, you can turn around and take a picture of a sphere. That means you would measure curvature on the surface of the Earth. We don't measure curvature on the surface of the Earth. That calls into question the picture. But you probably spoke all the way through that, though, didn't you? You stupid little child.
Yeah, he didn't hear a word you said.
Why do scientists disagree with you?
No science here, dummy.
Excuse me? Oh, my days, dude.
Sorry,
Also,
you think there is science here? All right, now that you've jumped in, I'm going to ask you both. If you think that science has proved the shape of the Earth, I require the scientific hypothesis and experiment, please.
I've asked you guys for proof that it's flat like 100 times, and I haven't seen.
Do you know what right angle triangle is?
Would you like an experiment?
Stop asking me stupid questions. Just give me proof. I don't want 1 plus 1.
I posted laser tests in the Slack chat earlier.
Where?
Also, you made a horrendous analogy before when trying to compare measuring the world and measuring somebody's height. That is actually a logical fallacy you made.
Sorry, excuse me. I was trying to demonstrate that measurement is empirical. Dummy.
Yeah, but it's a logical fallacy.
Hasn't got it, have you?
But it's
Can I have a study, please?
So, name the logical fallacy.
It's a straw man.
No, it's not a straw man, you fucking idiot. Define straw man.
When you misinterpret somebody's argument and then you try to basically say that
I didn't misinterpret someone's argument. I was making the argument, you prick.
Hey, Jedi, do you want an experiment? Do you want an experiment?
Please, mate, please. Someone else, please. No, they've given you the information for yourself.
But if it's not official, then how can I see if it's right?
It's official.
I'll tell you.
If it is
You can
official,
verify
then
the thing for yourself.
How do I verify for myself? I don't have a military grade laser, so.
You can do a flashlight test with a fucking mirror over a lake. Have you got a mirror?
That's like a small part of Earth, and that doesn't even.
Excuse me.
No.
Go on, India. You can.
No, I was just gonna say, dude, if you just reflect the sun with a mirror, that's way more intense than any laser, bro.
Well, I would like a study of other people doing it because I don't trust
I'll give
myself
you
to do it.
147 kilometers, and then when you see it, what? Because you guys ask for stuff and then you never read it. That's why we procrastinate, even wasting our time.
Well, I'm gonna read
you guys
it.
don't actually look at it. Oh, okay, I'll post it in the chat. 147 kilometers down by the U.S. Air Force. Down by the U.S. Air Force in Hawaii. So from one Hawaiian island to the other.
Oh, an island, so it's over water again? Why is it never over Earth?
Well, it's at the top, from the top of a mountain, so it's over water like freaking 6,000 feet.
Jedi.
Why is it always over water?
Jedi.
Because land could be sloped, right? Right.
Yeah. So, but why?
Well, you have ones over land if you want that. We got the Salt Lake riverbed or the seabed. No, the Bonneville salt flats in America, where they race cars because it's so flat, where they break all the land speed records.
Sure.
We got one over that too, 30 miles. Well, I'll get them. I'll post both of them.
Oh, yeah, please post it because it doesn't help you tell me. I would like to see it, please. I'm still waiting for the other military laser as well.
Jedi, I'm going to tag you in this because perhaps you can help. You can try and rebuke this. So, in the 3rd century BC, Greek astronomer Eratosthenes measured the sun's angle at Alexandria. Yes, measured the sun's angle at Alexandria and Syene, modern Aswan, during the summer solstice. From the difference about 7.2 degrees and known distance between the cities, he calculated Earth's circumference.
All right, you know you're reading. You better look
it's fine. Let him read it out. Go on.
Yeah. So, remarkably accurate within 2 to 15% of the true value. Modern recreations between Australia and New Zealand achieve similar accuracy. So, why is it ancient Greeks discovered the world was round, but you are seeming to disagree with them? Which, by the way, this predates modern science.
Listen, buddy. Don't ask a question and then answer it yourself. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Let him answer it.
It's like trying to sprinkle some poison into the well before you let it out.
No. It's not even that. It's not even that. You use measurement as a way to prove your point. I am now using measurement to also disprove your point.
Let us answer.
Okay. So that was going to be my first question. You mentioned it with the first. Took in what you read. What did he measure?
He measured the sun's angle at Alexandria.
Stop. What's the definition of an angle?
Dude, me, dude. It's like I'm not arguing semantics, dude. Like,
no, dude. But what we're doing is we're looking at the methodology. Oh my God, we're looking at the methodology of how he measured. He measured using an angle. In actual fact, he used a triangle. 3 points on the triangle where the sun, the well or stick directly underneath the sun, and when he fucked off, he put another stick down. 3 points on the triangle. He measured the elevation angle. Remember, 90 degrees underneath the sun at the well or the stick. So when he measured an angle, you'll have to understand that an angle is the intersection of two straight sides. There's no curvature measured here. It's a flat Earth measurement. The adjacent on the triangle, the distances between the two sticks.
So you're telling me the sun is now flat? Like what? The sun is not flat.
At what point did I say the sun was flat? I'm telling you that on the surface of the Earth, the adjacent. See, what's the point of me telling you? Do you know what an adjacent of a triangle is?
Yes.
Good. The adjacent, the straight line, is between the two sticks on the floor. Did you notice I said straight?
Yes.
Good. Can you have straight lines on a curved surface?
No. That doesn't make it, dude.
So thank you. The point is Aristophanes measured utilizing a horizontal plane. It's called a solar elevation angle measurement. The angle of the sun in the sky.
Let's try another argument. When you go on a plane from a high altitude, you see a slight curve on the horizon. No, why not?
Something else.
Why not? Why not? So I want you to try to dispute it. So like,
so do you proceed on
I will do. I will do. If you answer this question, did I dispute the first one? Do you understand what I said?
Not really. I don't really.
Right. So what's the fucking point of going on to something else? Being as you've got comprehension issues.
I want to see what you say. I want to see what you say to it.
Okay, you wouldn't understand it even if I tried to tell you. Let's see if you can.
No, I do understand it. Oh no, you're
okay. Tell me how I answered the first question, child. How did I answer the first question?
You completely incorrectly. You went on your whole little tangent. So
what's the point, according to you, in your own worldview, to ask me questions?
Yeah, because I'm trying to ask you. I'm trying to understand your belief system. No, so when you get on a plane, and you see that there's a curvature in the horizon, how do you explain that?
I asked you, the stupid person, to turn around and then observe a 360-degree horizontal horizon around the observer. The same sort of thing that can be done from any vantage point when you turn around.
If the world was
when
flat,
you look out of a mirror, I'm finished. When you look out of a window, one, you've got cognitive bias. You think the Earth is a sphere, and when you look at the horizon, that's the curvature of the Earth. Two, you forget that you're looking through 3 panes of glass and perspex that are obviously curved because you can see the curvature on the runway when you take off.
Jedi, I'm telling you right now, if the world was flat, you would not see a curve when you're in a plane.
You don't, you moron.
So, excuse me.
And you retarded. Yes, you do.
It's like second point, right? Forgetting about the 360 degrees horizon, which you completely went over your head. Do you remember about the window? You understand that curved lensing distorts horizontal lines.
Yes,
so we have to go through geometry again.
This also goes for ships as well. When you see ships bottom away sailing, and then they slowly disappear. Not because the world's flat, but because there's a curve to it. What?
Darth, why are you going to another point?
Spiraling.
Because his point is retarded.
No, your point is retarded.
Nobody's answering my question.
How high does a plane fly?
How high does a plane fly? It depends.
Yes.
All right, you can
She's a senior mod.
So yeah, I guess I was just asking if you're measuring over short distances, like a few miles or kilometers.
Yeah, no, long distances, very extreme long distances. Pay attention.
Okay. So all distances, dude. There isn't a distance that we can measure where we measure curvature. The distances that we measure the Earth to be horizontal. We're told the distances that we measure should show curvature, but they don't.
How do you measure long distances, by the way?
Hold on, buddy. How much curvature do you think should be in 10 miles? Like, how much of the surface of the Earth drop away from your eye level in 10 miles? Take a guess. Intuition. Use your intuition. How about based upon what you've personally experienced? If you had something 10 miles away, you're on the beach, how much would it be dropped down?
I don't know, a lot, like a couple hundred feet maybe.
In 10 miles?
Yeah.
No, it's not a couple. The globe Earth prediction is 66 feet.
Okay.
It is easy, trivial in fact, to see something 10 miles away all the way to the bottom. In fact, you can take a laser 10 miles away and blast your own eyeballs out, which shouldn't be possible because it should be 66 feet under the curve of the Earth, right? It should be being blocked by the horizon.
Wait a minute. When we measure over these long distances, how are we measuring?
Well, there's multiple methods. There's lasers, infrared, electromagnetic, like radar, microwave, radio waves. I mean, pick one.
Have you heard bridge builders telling you like, hey, when we build these bridges, we do adjust for the curvature?
No, they don't. They don't say that. They don't say that.
What about railroad builders?
Yeah, we have steel workers that are flat earthers in this. They don't account for curvature. Railroads don't account for curvature. They don't account for curvature.
We've had professionals from all different backgrounds come in here and state their flat Earth observation. In fact, pilots have been recorded, some with their face on camera, some without it, because they don't want to be identified as stating the Earth is flat, stationary. Imagine trying to land a plane on a runway that's moving. That'd be fun.
Fair, you guys have had professionals in here of all sorts of varieties saying the opposite things. So
No. What does that mean?
yeah,
No, actually, let me listen.
You're saying, hold on, let's nail down what he said, dude. You're saying we've had professionals in here saying people that build bridges, that someone that actually builds bridges, say that they account for curvature. You're saying we've heard that, because that's a lie.
Engineers, yeah. Maybe not specifically bridge builders, people that engineers for sure.
No, you're
I'm sorry. Yes, that may not be true.
Name the person. Name the person.
Pretty sure. I'm pretty sure I just qualified.
Did it happen or not?
Corrected myself, didn't I? Oh, you want a meta dive or what?
Who said it?
Are you deaf? Are you deaf? Did you not hear me?
No, I didn't hear you. Who said it?
Okay, so like I said, maybe not bridge builders, maybe engineers is a better word choice.
No. Okay, which engineer? Who?
Name is all doing this game with you.
Oh, your mic's trash, Cooper. Your claim, just like you say, baseless stuff with no support, and we're just supposed to go along with it. I don't think so. You know how it works in here.
Yeah, I do.
It's evidence of rocks, brother.
He said maybe they said that they account for curvature. Maybe they did. You're a tool, bud.
No.
Okay.
Evidence or kick rocks, brother.
Okay.
Bye. Okay, he was just running interference for the girl. Is the girl still here? Or did she run away?
She ran.
Oh, she ran.
Oh, that was his mission, wasn't it, Cooper?
No, she ran before that guy said anything.
I thought he interrupted her.
Yeah, right at the beginning when I was dealing with her, she'd left her.
So wait, really? If you take like a laser and you shoot it 10 miles away from like another guy, you can still hit the guy?
Yeah. Direct line of sight targeting systems. Sorry,
I posted a video in the chat that's triple that. It's 30 miles.
Yeah, and in military terms, it's called painting a target.
Yeah.
Okay, and the height that you do this from matters or no?
Of course it does.
So you have to do it above sea level, right? If you're using a direct line of sight targeting system, and obviously any altitude above. If the surface of the Earth was curved, that curved surface would be the limitation, dependent on the height of the object. However, when we look at what's actually achieved, we realise it supersedes a curvature involved. So there is no curvature when we use the line of sight targeting systems. It's what they're good at, right? Targeting or painting targets at distance. Yep.
Okay. So
go ahead.
Like, how would you? So if I had a guy stand 10 miles away from another guy, how do I make sure that they're at the same height?
You measure the eye height above the sea level. If you've got water between you, for example, or you can look at some kind of map and it'll give you the elevation.
Okay.
See, this is why water is really good. We can use that for a good height of eye, especially when we're looking at like the sea level across oceans. So yeah, it's always based on the height of eye. You're going to see further, no matter whether the surface is curved or flat, the further away you move the optic, right, from the surface.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have they ever recorded this laser test?
We've got several recordings, dude. Loads of them if you want.
This has been done a bunch of times. I don't know, it's like 10 maybe, at least.
Oh, it's more than that, dude.
Okay.
But yeah, we're doing the same thing that the military do, but they've got better lasers than us. Sorry, dogs are getting loud.
They did this in the Behind the Curve documentary. You guys support that or no?
The Behind the Curve documentary.
They did what? Hold on. They did what, dude? They did what in the Behind the Curve documentary?
And Behind the Curve, they do like a flat Earth laser test.
No, they did not. Nope.
Okay, so you guys don't support Behind the Curve, I imagine.
Okay.
Did you see the movie? Did you see the movie?
No, dude, what? Stop. Okay, calm down. They used a flashlight.
Oh, a flashlight, not a laser.
Not a laser. They used a flashlight, and that's actually a flat Earth proof. You know that, right?
A flashlight is why? I imagine.
No, him lifting it over the board and being able to see it is a flat Earth proof. Because he should have been 18 feet under the curve, and the dude's not 18 feet tall, right?
Oh, okay. I mean, I didn't actually see the documentary. I just sort of looked up the laser test, like who's done it.
Yeah. So there's a lot of, I hate to say this word because I hate it, disinformation with this topic, with like mischaracterizing certain things. So in that documentary, it says Jaren used a laser to shine, all this distance, and it wasn't a laser. They melted the laser, and yada yada yada, whatever. And then the other part where Bob proved the rotation of the Earth, that he measured 15 degrees per hour, blah blah blah, which is impossible because you would have to be at one of the poles. So, and it wasn't a ring laser gyro, and it didn't cost $27,000. It's like the whole story behind that is completely false. The Jaranism one is partially false. So. Yeah, there's but if you search it on Google, it'll show up. Hey, flat earther proved their Earth's rotating. Hey, flat earther proved did a laser test and proved the Earth is flat. So if you search these terms, this is what you get, but that's not what actually happened. There was over 100 people at Jaren's test, okay, that saw it. Nobody thought what the documentary said. Nobody that witnessed it, including the Globers that were there. And they have emails from the producers that admitted that they saw the laser. They admitted it, or not the laser, the flashlight rather.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to watch the laser thing, and I'm going to watch a couple of other laser things, and I might try to do it myself. So that I can, see if it actually works.
I mean, yeah, it'll work. I have no doubt. There's a bunch of these. Like, it's been tested out to. So there was a group that in the Netherlands, they did a test on this. It's a saltwater lake that was connected to the sea that they blocked off. It was like a fjord, and then they blocked it off, and then it became a saltwater lake. So they did a laser test of increasing distance. And they got to 41 kilometers away, which is like 25 miles. And then they went back 2 weeks later and then repeated it. So, yeah. It's very hard to aim. This is the only thing you have to consider. It's very hard to aim at long distances because a very small deflection on your end results in a large deflection on the other end. Okay. So say you moved it like 0.02 degrees, which is 200th of a degree. On the other end, 25 miles away, that would move the laser 8 meters, right? It would go from, instead of looking at it, it would be pointed to some place like 80 feet to your left, just by moving it 1/200th of a degree.
Okay.
I'm just saying that's something to consider when you do it.
By the way, like, if I were to do this, I would probably use some sort of like GPS system. Do GPS systems use like a globe model or a flat Earth model?
They don't use either. They use something called Earth-centered, Earth-fixed.
Okay, so they don't really use a globe model. People say like they do.
They don't even use geometry, technically. It measures time, the time of flight of a passive beacon. And then that beacon has a timestamp in it, and then it calculates the time and says, hi, how far did that thing travel in that amount of time? Okay, this is how far away I am from it. That's what it actually calculates.
Okay.
The latitude and longitude is a what's called a coordinate conversion.
Wait, what about satellites?
We're going farther and farther away from Earth, like you guys always do.
Wow.
It's pretty hilarious.
So satellites go far away from Earth, but they're still...
No.
Hi, everybody.
I'm talking about prediction. We always start at the Earth, and then like when you guys... Okay, so yeah, so we start at the Earth, but the more we talk to you guys, the farther away from Earth you guys want to go. You'll go to satellites, and then you're going to go to the suns. You'll go to the planets and the stars and the moon, and then you'll be like the sun, and then you'll be like the stars, and then what about black holes, and what about the Big Bang? And you guys just will go farther and farther away from Earth. It's just something that we've noticed over time, that people that encountered this topic, what they end up doing. They like you can't listen. Very simple. The only way you can prove what the Earth is to measure the Earth.
Do we just not believe in satellites?
Don't exist in the place you think they exist in.
Yeah,
I'm curious. Do we believe? Are they a thing that exists? Are they real or fake?
Okay, so we're not going to deny things in the sky. Right, platforms exist, right? Whatever the technology, it's the very specific claim that you're going to go to a vacuum. But apart from that, what's the satellite doing? What's it showing you?
I have no idea.
Okay, so why are you talking about satellites then? Why does this prove the Earth is a sphere?
Because satellites, I'm thinking to myself, okay, you have this big piece of metal, and it's you put it up in the sky. How is it staying up there? If like you know what I mean?
There's many ways to keep things in the sky. They've been doing this since the 1950s, NASA, and before that with other, weather stations around the world. Balloons are a good thing to use. So high altitude platforms, the majority of them, if they're in the Earth's atmosphere, they're going to be on the balloons. So there's multiple ways. We've got solar powered drones now. I mean, goodness.
Okay, so they're not floating in space; they're in the sky.
I just wanted those balloons can stay aloft 20 to 30 years. By the way.
Yeah, that's specifically not in the vacuum of space, but I'm still asking what they're doing. Is it just being in this place or what?
I mean, I imagine they're scanning the Earth's surface or something like that.
Okay, so you're going to say that the satellites, when they scan the surface of the Earth, they scan curvature over the surface of the Earth.
I'm not going to make the claim that they scan curvature. I imagine they scan the Earth's surface.
Yeah, and that surface would have to be curved if it was a sphere. That's the only way that I can logically put these things together. I'm trying to figure out what a satellite's done. You said they scanned the Earth. Okay, now if the Earth was a sphere, that they'd scan curvature, and that would be the measurement of the surface of the Earth being curved, wouldn't it?
Right.
Yeah. So is that what you're suggesting that the satellites are doing, measuring the curvature of the Earth when they scan the floor?
No, I think I would just say that they're basically looking down at the surface of the Earth from a very high altitude. That's what I would claim that they do.
Okay. So when they're very far away, do they see the Earth being a sphere?
Do they see the Earth being a sphere? I'm not sure.
Okay, so why are we talking about satellites then?
Well, because I don't know if you believe in space, but like just the fact that they're supposedly floating would be like, not true, or like a lie was told to me. If that was the case.
Okay, so I don't think satellites exist within the vacuum of space. That's a very specific claim. Yeah, us guys don't think the vacuum of space is real. The stories that were told about it and from it are fake because they have to be, because the place that they're talking about and the way that they describe it violates fundamental laws of physics and nature. You know how gas expands, right?
Yeah.
Cool. And it expands into space, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So if the Earth has got lots of gas, the oxygen and nitrogen that we're breathing, and it isn't contained from that space, what's it going to do?
I'm not sure.
The gas that we breathe is going to fill the space, isn't it? Because there's an available volume for the gas to fill. Gas expands into space. Space is a space for gas to fill. According to the law of nature, it will fill it.
Right.
Cool. So the vacuum of space can't be real in the way that we're told, because for our atmosphere, the oxygen and the nitrogen to exist in the way that we're told, there must be a spherical container around the Earth, stopping entropy happening and the gas filling the space and giving the atmosphere its sphere-like nature, because gases only take the shape of their containers, right?
Right, yeah, they do that.
Yeah, so that's why we don't believe in the vacuum of space. It violates that law that we've just obviously described.
Oh, I see what's happening. Like in high school, my science teacher would usually, he would say gravity is what keeps it down.
Cool. Do you think gravity is what keeps it down?
I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, can I interject 1 second?
Of course you can, mate, yeah.
So, do you think the claim that gravity holds the air down is a scientific claim or an ideology?
A scientific claim or an ideology? I mean, I don't know, both.
It has to be one or the other, man. Science is empirical; it's based on experiment, right? So
I would say it's a scientific claim because, to me, what a scientific claim is like, can it be disproven?
Yeah, kind of, but it has to be empirical, right? It has to be based on experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, are there any experiments which verify this claim?
An experiment that verifies it? I mean, Isn't it just like throwing an apple in the air?
You think the gas isn't an apple, right? Gas expands in all directions. It should be like more like throwing helium in the air and thinking the helium's going to fall back to Earth.
No, that's true. I was kind of thinking of a solid when I gave that.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to say, Jedi, by the way.
No, that's fine, dude. It was brilliant. Yeah, the apple doesn't have kinetic energy, right? The gas, though, that does have kinetic energy because it's always got heat, right? There's always a temperature involved. No matter how cold it is to you, gas is always going to expand because it has kinetic energy given it to it by temperature. Cool. So, yeah, gravity, stopping the expansion of gases. See, the law states quite clearly the expansion of gases into a vacuum. It doesn't say in the exception of a word we're yet to define. The point is we don't have the observation of gases not expanding into vacuums because the law of thermodynamics, the second law, is universal without exception. What we have is a story that gravity stops this law from taking part, and that's why you've got spheres of gas like Jupiter and Saturn in the sky. The fact that they're spheres of gas uncontained from a vacuum is the violation. The claim that gravity is stopping this expansion would be an invalidation of that law. As Indio pointed out, you're going to require scientific evidence. The phenomena being gas pressure, right? Now, we understand that gas pressure is the force that the gas exerts upon the walls of its container, but we don't have a container, so we're going to need to cause pressure with something else. This is going to be gravity. So the experiment needs to be gravity causing pressure. There is no scientific experiment where gravity causes pressure. There's no scientific experiment that proves that gravity causes anything at all.
Okay. So gravity, is it entirely like a lie that was like made up?
It's a fictitious mathematical conception working around a mathematical idea that there's a sphere in space. Yeah. Powers applied to the sphere. Mass of some description attracting somehow this magic at a distance instantaneously, or the time and space that the masses reside in are curved. Straight lines become geodesic curved lines, right? So mathematical concepts to describe something that isn't actually reality. It's not a ball, the Earth.
Okay, so the way that air is around, what is it, because air is like heavy or something?
No, it's because it's contained. The reason that gases stay in places is contained within that volume.
What's contained?
A container. I'm not going to be able to tell you what the container is.
Are you telling me if I were to go up high enough that I would hit something?
Eventually, if there's a container in the sky keeping the gas here, then you would reach the container in the sky that's keeping the gas here. Whether you can do that or not, I don't know.
I'll say yes. Yep, go high enough, you'll hit something.
Well, yeah, you'll hit it, but whether we've got the technology to do it, I don't know.
Okay, so if I had like a plane or a hot air balloon...
You don't. You can't do it. No, you can't do it.
Most airplanes can't fly into the stratosphere, and if they can, they don't get far past that. Airplanes, they need we're going to need gases. Right, so if you're going to send a hot air balloon, you're going to have to be a very specific one.
Has anyone done that or no?
Well, we haven't hit a container yet that I know of. Whether somebody else has, I don't know.
Okay, that's like really... I think there has by now. Well, perhaps it's too expensive. I was just thinking, like, why hasn't a flat earther done the hot air balloon thing yet?
Oh, we've done the hot air balloon thing, and what we do is we stick cameras on hot air balloons to see if the Earth looks curved or horizontal from up high. But the balloon is eventually going to come back down.
Well, yeah,
why flat earthers have to do everything?
Well, no, just out of the curiosity. Like, I want to know about the world.
I'm not curious. I already measured the Earth to be flat. I'm not curious about it.
Well, I'm not talking about curious about the flat thing. I'm talking about I'm thinking about touching the container. Like, I want to touch it, see what it's about.
Why do you want to touch things? Are you touchy? Listen,
no,
we already have air pressure. That is the air pressure. The antecedent of air pressure is the container.
Just the pure question of what does the container feel like? What does it look like? What does it smell like? All these things that I don't know because I haven't gone high enough would make me think about exploring the hot air balloon.
What does your air compressor smell like?
It doesn't seem to matter with the technology that we have available. We don't seem to be reaching this. So you're right, we would be doing this if we wanted to answer that question. But it seems that there's only a certain height that we can get to before we have to start talking to people about it. Military airspace, for example, you can only go above a certain altitude. Especially when you're around airports and stuff, so it's limited.
But yeah. And that's in every country?
From ground level to 35, 40,000 feet is civilian airspace as far as commercial airlines and, parasailers and stuff like that. Where anything from the ground to any altitude is military airspace in reality. And military flights are usually at 50,000 and above.
Yep.
So even if I purchase my own island, and I took my hot air balloon, my highly advanced hot air balloon, and I took it up, like the space above my island is still not my own?
No.
Airspace is regulated by the government.
Yeah, none of that airspace is yours. In fact, there is a father and son team, I believe, and I don't know how much they spent, but it was a good chunk of dough. And they had cameras everywhere, not just on the, like at the bottom of the rocket. And it got to an altitude of about 73 to 75 miles and hit something and started falling back.
Okay, are we going to, did it hit the container or no?
No clue what it hit or what it came up against, but it could have kept going and it couldn't. For some reason, it was stopped. Now, that footage has been shared here multiple times. I don't have it at my fingertips right now, but I'm sure one of us does. And beyond that, even way before that, because that was quite recent, within the last 5 to 10 years, I would imagine. But even before that, there's Operation Fishbowl in Dominic, where the government launched nuclear weapons at the sky and they detonated at a certain altitude. And that was down in the Antarctic. You can research that if you'd like.
And Hillary Clinton kept referring to the dome in her speeches as break the glass ceiling.
There's millions of cracks in it, but we still haven't got through it.
And Hillary Clinton kept referring to the dome in her speeches as break the glass ceiling.
There's millions of cracks in it, but we still haven't got through it.
There are reported meteorological phenomena that stop at a certain altitude, like throwing something up against your ceiling, like a bag of flour, the way that it expands out. And these are called elves and sprites. I think they pan out about 100,000 feet, somewhere near the Kármán line anywhere, just like somewhere around the stratosphere. But electrical phenomena, it's lightning that goes upwards. It's like sprites and elves. They reach this area and go no further. It's like they hit a ceiling, apparently, to the descriptions that people observing it.
I'd like to give you this, the gentleman who was asking about the airspace above his island. There's also other groups of flat earthers that have spent like 10 grand or more on a helium balloon and proper cameras without fisheye lenses and sent them up, and they've gotten above 100,000 feet before the balloon popped and came back down. And yeah, zero curvature. Sorry, go ahead with your question.
I guess my next thing I was sort of thinking about was, I mean, whatever the container or the ceiling is made out of, it must be see-through because we could see like planets and stars and stuff, right?
How do you know what's up there?
Well, because you look in a telescope and you see like a planet.
So what? I can look at a telescope at a building across the street and see things on the building.
You don't know how
you can see
things are.
Nothing's blocking it. That's what I'm saying.
You don't know what they are.
You don't know what they are or where they are.
The fact that you can see it means that something's not blocking it, which means the container must not be blocking it, right? So it's either like below the container or...
You know you're not seeing the container.
Have you ever noticed... Sorry, I just wanted to ask one quick question. Have you ever noticed sometimes in the summertime when you're around a pool, the sun's hitting the surface of the pool and you look at the pool and you see the bottom of the pool and you can see little sparkles of light reflecting on the bottom of the pool because it's the sunlight hitting the bottom and reflecting off the bottom of the pool? Have you observed that before?
Not that I remember.
Okay, well, when you're out in the summer and around pools, try to make that observation. And all that I want to point out to you about that observation is when regular everyday people take out telescopes and look at those stars in the sky, a lot of them illuminate and reflect similar to those reflections on the bottom of the pool. So, you know, it is what it is. There's lights in the skies. They're there for signs and for seasons, but they're not there for us to land on and walk on and claim that we can do those things.
Even if I don't make that claim, the fact that I can look into a telescope and I'm seeing like, you know, a thing that looks like what we call Jupiter or whatever it is.
No, we all agree that we see it. We all agree that we see it. It's not the thing that you think we call it. We named that thing Jupiter. That's the name of it. We all see it.
Okay, sure. So
there's this other part that you've imported a philosophy without knowing it. So you've imported not only the Copernican principle, but the idea that things in the sky behave the same way as things on Earth, despite the fact that when we observe those things in the sky, they do not behave like things on Earth. For example, I'll give you a specific example. There's no parallax. So if you look at something on Earth and you move around, the thing shifts around in your field of view, and you can measure the distance to it by measuring the parallax angle shift. You can't do that to the stars. You can't do that to the moon, and you can't do it to the sun. You can't do it to the planets. They don't behave the way things on the terrestrial Earth behave. And in the past, before they adopted this view of the name is called uniformitarianism. That's the actual philosophy. So they think that whatever rules apply on Earth apply in the sky. But before that, they did not believe that such a thing. They believed that there was different rules governing each.
Okay. So do you think like, well, I mean, are we going to call Jupiter a planet or no?
You can call it what you want. It's definitely a light in the sky and not any place that we can go to and land on and touch. Or I thought you were going to refer to the circular appearance of the object in the sky, and I posted something in the live stream at 11:45, so you can see, even though it appears like it's a sphere against a black background, you don't know unless you can get up there and get different angles and look at what you're observing from the angle you're seeing that circle.
Okay.
It would also be important to understand what exactly you mean by planet. Because if you're going to ask us, can we call it a planet? Well, what do you mean by that?
I guess, like, just I'm sort of categorizing like, hey, there's like a type of thing that we see in the sky. It has like a circular shape. That's what I'd call a planet.
Yeah, a spherical planet. What else does a spherical planet do?
Hey, I said circle, not sphere, because it doesn't look like a circle to me.
Yeah, I mean, you're right there. It does definitely look like a circle. How do we jump from circle to sphere? But we're still trying to define planet, right?
No. My point of asking about the planets is I'm trying to ask: is it the dome? Is it on the dome? Is it above the dome? Is it under the dome? Like where is it?
We don't know.
So
because we don't know what it is, how far away it is, the size of it. We can't confirm these things. We can just point up at the sky and look and speculate, but we don't know.
Historically, the word planet meant wandering star, planetai. Okay, so the root word is just meaning a star that doesn't do what the rest of the stars do. They are fixed, but we have, what was it, 9 or 10 bodies that move independently of the rest of them. So it just means a star that wanders. Now, they also have interesting shapes. If you look at Saturn, for instance, through a telescope, it has this weird little. It looks like a ring, but you can't differentiate any kind of dimension to it. So it kind of looks like a weird little Saturn. But it doesn't mean that it's a sphere with a ring around it. It's just the way it's shaped. It's not even circular, right? So what those objects or what those lights might be, really, we have no clue, man.
Okay. I'm not going to lie. I don't think I would, like, the fact that we've never touched the dome.
You're focusing on the wrong thing, though, BD6. You just talked about something that you're describing a planet, right? You were asking us what it is. But then again, when it was described to you that there's no way that we can tell what it is, you can't launch it to, like, touching domes. So your problem is you don't realize when you don't have the information like we don't have. We all are making observations the same way. But there's nothing we can do more than just make observations. We can't describe in any detail the element makeup of the thing we see. You don't realize that's what happened. You just bypassed that and started talking about touching domes.
I was going to say I wouldn't claim that there's a dome because I've never touched the dome.
You went ahead and just, like, what does that have to do with what I just told you? How did you confirm anything about what a planet is based on perhaps a description? You just basically gave us your idea of what it is. That's not even the definition of what they're claiming that a planet is.
Okay. I mean, when I said the word planet, I'm specifically referring to the circular shape that we see when we look into the telescope.
I said that's great. I said that's great. You can have your way of explaining it. Then there's the definition of what it is, how it's defined. And then there's the explanation of what they're telling you it is, what its makeup is. So it has to do with logic, right? And how you critically think about what you're asking. And if you're able to process the question that you said, and if you're able to think about it, right? How are you breaking this down? How do we know things? Yeah? How do we know things? You and me, not just us, not just flat earthers. You, thinking the Earth's a globe. How do you know things?
I mean, I don't know. I sort of just trust a guy who tells me things.
Yeah, and I wanted to point out to you, with that being said, that we have no problem saying we don't know, right? Where the other side, they'll look at that light in the sky, they'll put the image through whatever technology they want, and they'll just start coming up with all kinds of things. Oh, there's methane air on that object in the sky, blah, blah, blah. No, we have no problem with saying we don't know.
Right. So then there's a distinction between what we say, being honest and saying that we can't know something. However, the opposite end of that, he just is telling you that you get a story from these guys or an explanation. And then, of course, you just admitted you just trust it. So there's a breakdown.
I haven't done the research myself, so I'm just going to trust the guy.
Yeah. So the information breakdown happens when you just trust. There's no examination, no critical thought into what's being told to you. You're just accepting whatever they're saying. That's a problem, right? You don't examine the problem. You ask us for what we think. But then again, the problem is your examination of evidence is a low standard. You're just saying, well, I just trust them. Well, what do you say? You see what I mean? There's a fundamental issue in the standard that you have applied to the physical world, which is you're not scrutinizing anything that's being told to you. You're just accepting it. That's an issue. Do you understand the issue?
I do understand it, and I don't just accept it like randomly. This guy was right about other stuff that I did get to test out. Like when I do a science experiment in high school, he tells, like, if he predicts something that's going to happen in the experiment and then it does happen, that increases my trustworthiness or my level of trust in the guy.
Name one thing, because it sounds ambiguous. What are you describing? What?
Like if we're dissecting a frog and he tells me, okay, when you open the frog, you're going to see this, this, and this, and then I open it and then it's there.
Okay.
It's like, okay.
That's
so
applied.
You're
applying yourself, right? Now,
exactly.
Let's go to cosmology. Well, exactly. Let's go to cosmology. Now try to do it with cosmology. Anything. Pick something.
Cosmology?
Yes.
I don't.
Right.
I couldn't do. I don't think I can think of an
versus
experiment that I could do.
unextraordinary claim.
I can't think of an experiment I could do cosmologically.
There you go. Well, that's the problem. It's not science, sir, but it's masquerading as science. They're telling you that it is. Oh, this is science. They're not doing science, sir. You just admitted. You see the problem. Okay. This is the issue, right? We're pointing it out to the world, yet the world is turning a blind eye because they think that the ones they're receiving the information from are carry weight, authoritative information coming from those guys with credentials. They have a better foothold on what to say and how, what people believe versus what anybody else would say. This is there's like a gap of knowledge that you can't fill if you just trust. Because now we're asking you the leading questions how you know something, and it's just you don't know how to answer. They didn't equip you how to think, sir. They've equipped you what to think. And that's all you have at the end of the day.
Trust them because they said so, and they're trustworthy, apparently, for some reason. Because it's supposed to work.
Yeah, so we're basically, I'm sorry, sir, we're just basically fighting for the individual's right to think critically. Like we're asking you, think about it, man. Like, how do you know what you know? Is it possible that you can ascertain any information that's critical to understanding the elemental composition of the thing in question? And the answer would be a resounding no. You don't know what the chemical makeup of something is. You just assert it because somebody told you that that's what it's a gas planet up there. There's no way that you can test that.
What's going on is there are some experiments that I can do, and I have done throughout my life, where a guy told me, okay, we're going to do this experiment together, and here's, this is what's going to happen, and we're going to discover it together. So I do these things, and I'm like, oh, hey, all this stuff seems to work. So this guy, then he does all these things and they work, and then he tells me another thing, and it's like, well, we can't do this experiment, but I'm just sort of telling you, like, some other guys told me that they did this experiment, and it's true. It's like it's going to fit into the worldview, or it's like a belief that you can have. And I'm like, okay, well, if these guys were right about literally all those experiments, then the chances that they are going to lie about this one thing. Now, do I know the chances? Not really, but for some reason, because they didn't lie about all those other things, I'm like, they're probably not going to lie about this thing.
You should never be around an eggshell game.
Are we going to talk about
it's a confidence trick. Look at all the amazing things that I can do. I can also do this, even though I haven't got the evidence to show you. But you can trust me, right? Because I can do all of these other things. I can definitely do this too. I get where you're coming from, but when you listen to the logic, there isn't any.
I was going to say that Sporadic has the statistics, if he's going to talk about that kind of analysis, and a range of like where things. I don't know, Sporadic, if you're here with us.
Yeah. I mean, you're almost in like two different categories of claims here, right? Because you've got, on one hand, claims that your friend, your teacher, your scientist friend can verify and is able to verify. And on the other hand, claims that he can't and he won't and never will verify. So you have to use discernment to be able to differentiate between the two.
And that's a perfect segue to what I was going to say. Blind faith in man's word, people in white lab coats, and they know it's rocket appliances. You don't understand. You're a layman. But we're going to Mars. We're going here. We're doing this. We're growing stuff on the ISS. It's benefiting everyone down here. And in the long run, it's a big distraction from the problems right in front of our faces.
Well, I have no problem with men in white lab coats telling me things that are verifiable claims whatsoever. The issue is that what they are claiming to be true are things that they know they themselves cannot verify. And if you ask them, they will tell you that they can't verify these things, which puts them in a fundamentally different category from claims that are verifiable.
Thanks for clarifying. Yes, not every person in a lab coat is full of shit. Sorry.
Yeah, like, I mean, it's like, somebody tells me that Belgium exists. It's like, great. I mean, I'm fully willing to accept that. I've never been to Belgium, but the concept of Belgium, as it's explained and in my mind, is not extraordinary. Why? Because Belgium is just another place that has trees and grass and animals and cities and people. So, that's fine. The burden of proof for whether or not Belgium exists is going to be in a different category than if somebody tells me that an outer space vacuum exists and goes on to describe this environment as being contrary to the laws of physics that we know to be true in every applicable sense.
Or tells you diamonds are raining on a planet. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. So great. You got a scientist. It's like, I've done all these experiments to show that, if I raise the heat, it's going to cause water to boil. And then if he goes on to say, well, it's also true that diamonds are raining on Uranus. I mean, come on, dude. One of these things is not like the other. You've got an extraordinary claim on one hand and something that's not so extraordinary on the other.
And not only that, if you didn't believe that person, you can actually go check it out yourself.
Yeah, not to pile on, not to give you too much information, but I was going to add on to what Sporadic was just saying and the rest of the fellows. It's different when you're looking at biology, like you mentioned the frog. So biology and let's say chemistry, where you can test something and you can see a reaction with your own eyes and you can repeat this. So you can't use that as that knowledge of what they're teaching you in those fields across the board. When you get into cosmology, there's nothing that can be manipulated. They can only do the same thing that you and I can do as regular folks. We can look up at the sky, we can use a telescope, but we still can't tell what those things are made of, the distance they are, what size they are, like any of that. So you can't use that across the board.
Let's hear from the gentleman.
Oh, you're talking about me?
Were you listening?
Yeah, I was listening.
What say you?
I mean, if I'm being honest, like, yeah, I'm sort of guessing, like, I trust the guy, because of the reasons that I said before. If somebody were to look at me and say, like, okay, be brutally honest with me. Do you actually know, that the earth is a sphere? Do you actually know that this guy's telling you the truth? I would just be honest and say, no, I don't. I'm trusting him. I'm going out on a limb and I'm guessing that, what he's saying is correct.
Yeah. And the other question would be, do you have to?
Do I have to do that? No.
Is there an obligation? Is there an obligation that you have to do that trusting, like you said?
No, I don't have an obligation. I could easily just say, like, hey, I'll believe you when you show me this thing, not just because you say it.
Okay. I just wanted to
too.
Go ahead, Trey.
Yeah. Okay. I was going to mention as well, just to pile on. In a sense, the standard of evidence isn't necessarily whether or not the common man is capable of independently verifying things. Rather, it's whether or not the claimant, the person making the claim, is able to verify and validate that he himself has done it. We have to understand that not all of us are going to have access to knowledge and technology to verify claims. And that doesn't mean that the claims are not true. But when it comes to the standard of evidence, the standard is on those bearing the claim to demonstrate it. So if you got a guy in a white lab suit who's making one of these extraordinary claims, the test isn't whether or not a regular Joe, independent of that knowledge and that level of access to technology, is able to reproduce process. It's whether or not the guy himself in the lab coat is able to demonstrate that the process itself can be replicated and verified independently. Those are two different things.
We aim to ignite critical thinking, BD6. Hopefully this is kind of like a segue so that you can understand there is a choice.
There is a choice, but...
Yeah, you're not under any obligation to think one particular kind of way. You can say, wait a minute, let me just look into this. You can say that. You don't have to be like Sporadic was saying, somebody who knows all what they know, but you could look to see if they actually proved anything.
I got a great example of this, the James Webb Telescope. Everybody thinks it's open access, it's public, and pretty much as long as you're lucky enough to get time on the telescope, then you can use it and you will understand everything, how it works, and so on and so forth. Well, guess what? I've got an interesting news clip. It's a news article about the problem of NASA and everybody else trying to source an individual who's capable of being the director of the James Webb Telescope program. The biggest barrier to entry was whether or not they had a top secret SCI clearance, that's above top secret, in order to manage the program. Why would they need that? Right? Because if this is public and scientific in nature, then there's no reason to have that level of classification. You can't classify things that are natural, that are independently discoverable in nature. What is? I mean, this means there's absolutely something about it that is unverifiable.
I know why. I figured it out.
Yeah, me too.
They might see aliens. That's why.
Yeah. I mean, it's obvious that the technology they're using isn't what they're portraying it to be.
Himawari too. You can't get the raw data, no matter what.
I forgot to mention. A side note.
You can't hold on. Yeah, just real quick. You can't get the unprocessed data. You can't even get the pre-processed data. You can only get like a third rendering of their work product. Even the scientists, right? Academics can't get the raw shit. So
totally. Listen, not only that, the GPS system itself. None of us will ever have access to the backhaul data from Schraver Air Force Base that's being uploaded to the GPS network every 2 hours or whatever the case is. None of us will get any of that data and access to the corrections that are supposedly being done to it for timing and ionospheric drag and all that other crazy stuff. Instead, you get a receiver that interprets signals and produces Rhinex data at the receiver level. And everybody thinks that Rhinex data is being broadcast by GPS, but that's not the case. It's being assembled from the data.
Yeah, it's being assembled at the receiver, right?
So, I was going to say, so Sporadic, that the person who was in here before Athena was somebody, you might have missed it, but she was in aeronautics, so I don't know if you got that or not. But
I did. I started laughing when she said that. I'm like, oh, there's no way you're an aeronautic. She said she was an aeronautical engineer, and I called her out, and then she said, well, I'm actually a student.
Yeah.
And then she stopped talking about it.
Yeah. But I'm saying, though, like, somebody in that field, wouldn't they have better knowledge of what they're saying? Because to me, it sounds like every time somebody claims, who they are professionally, don't you think that they would have a bit more knowledge than what it sounded like she had? I'm just spitballing. I'm not in that field, but I'm saying from your vantage point, don't you think that she would have been speaking differently?
Yeah, of course. People who are subject to higher forms of academia are used to having their ideas challenged and tested. In the classroom, with their mentors behind closed doors after hours, they're used to this. And so they develop a certain character about them that you can sense and tell. And when people come in and claim to be from that world and they're unable to hold themselves together, they start spiraling out and spazzing, but they're still holding themselves out as academics. They're somehow highly educated in the field. It very much betrays what they're saying, and you just got to call them out. I mean, in my view, there's very little chance such people actually went through the kind of rigors that they claim to.
Well, here's what puts a hair across my ass, dude. Is that they think because it's aeronautical engineering, somehow it's some like elite form of engineering. No, dude, it's no different than say structural engineering a building, right? They have formulas that are unique to their field, and they crunch the numbers and they figure out, okay, what's the stress, what's the tensile strength of this material? Let's look it up in the chart, and they're doing all that shit in CAD. They're not doing anything. Like that's what in the actual field, everything is being done in CAD. They're not doing calculations on paper, and even if they did, they would be calculations developed by someone freaking 100 years ago.
Right, that's right. They're not really told to question these things that they're given. They're not operating at that level. They're in the application level. So whereas like somebody's not an engineer but maybe a scientist, right? They're gonna be philosophizing about the equations and formulas that are given to them, and the engineer doesn't have time for that.
I find it disingenuous, and it really bakes my potato when they come in here and they start out with globe proof, like the boat going over the curve or whatever they want to throw on the table, and they'll end with "I'm a pilot," and then you start questioning instrumentation in the cockpit, and they don't have the answers, and you're like, you're such a disingenuous bullshitter. Like you could have started with "you're a pilot," but no, you kept that up your sleeve like an ace to pull out at the end, and you still don't know pilot lingo. Like wild.
But what's today's proven is something that's been going on for a long time, and that's we're dealing with liars. Tons and tons of liars. People come in here and they lie about every little thing when you talk to us. It's insane.
It's like, why do they have to stoop to that level?
Why would they lie, man? But hold on. Why would they lie? They can't be liars because we don't know why they would lie.
Yeah. Isn't that ironic? The liars come in and ask us why would they lie? Yeah, that's funny, dude.
Even just lying about seeing curvature from a plane pisses me off, right? Because I've flown enough in my life to know that it's so freaking flat from that height. Like, it's another one that annoys me. Maybe they're lying to themselves as well when it comes to that one, though.
Yeah, there was one in here the other day claiming to be a fellow skydiver, claiming he's seen curve jumping from airplanes. I was like, you're such a fucking bullshitter, man. No skydiver says that there.
I've heard of DJ's reaction. So it's the same like when CB was being told that we're like ants on a beach ball. It's the same reaction that DJ has when people say they see curve from an airplane. It's the same thing.
It was weird though. I don't think they generally think it's a lie though. Because I had an uncle told me this, and he's a sorry to say he's a pastor, and I don't think he was generally lying about that. He just generally believes it.
What was that effect that Crit was talking about?
Yeah. The lemon illusion.
Lemon illusion, yeah. That's the effect.
It's true.
And coupled with the overview effect, right? So seeing globes and all that. Never gone to space, but they see globes, images, and so the overview effect is like the spiritual, I don't know what you call it, feeling that they get when they see things like that, because it's like a high. And then when they go on an airplane trip, they have the lemon illusion. Oh yeah, there's a curve. It's right there. You're like, I don't see curve. Where is it? Right there. Can't you see it? You're like, no, I don't see a curve. So it's that thing, right? So they're imagining or an illusion in their mind built up based on the overview effect.
That's a good point.
That's where I've landed with that, with the lemon illusion. The literature doesn't describe it as a cognitive bias, but it's something else, like just everything from like brain chemistry gone wild to whatever delusional behaviors. But it really could be a cognitive bias as a result of what you just said, what Kurt's saying. The overview effect induces that. It'd be really interesting to see a timeline of of the two effects, right? Like did the lemon illusion come around at the same time as the overview effect, or similar timelines?
Well, ever since people have been able to go as far as like airplanes and beyond, the idea is that you could see the Earth in a different vantage point, a different perspective. But maybe it could be coupled with it. It's just like you said, there must be some kind of history that leads into like both of them meeting at a point. I think they're conjoined twins, but you might say it's different.
Really, the lemon illusion applies to small objects more or less in people's experience. So they'll look at a fork or Uri Geller, bending spoons, and they'll think he's bending spoons.
Oh, is that the Matrix?
Yeah. So people will look at a spoon and they'll be told that this guy's bending the spoon with his mind, right? And they'll be convinced that it's curving in front of them.
That little monk that was challenging Neo said the same. It's not the spoon that bends.
I'm like walking around Giant right now talking about this stuff. People are like, this guy's nuts.
Well, let them stop and talk to you about it like Indio did. You have to like ward off some of those Globers, man. They're out there.
Dude, I do it all the time, man. all the time. I'll be in the grocery store, freaking just stop in the middle of the aisle yelling at people. We look like they think I'm crazy.
That's true.
How many times has it happened to us, like the ones who've been doing it a while, and then all of a sudden you snap back to reality, like, oh shit, I'm in the middle of a store. What the fuck?
Yeah.
I also do it outside. I do it on the bus. I was just doing it on the bus today, man. Like, I was on the shuttle bus. Like, I heard that Athena girl, definitely not the goddess of wisdom. Not. Yeah.
And then you started looking around and making sure, like, do we got enough crazy people in here for me to start yelling at this person?
Yeah, I was trying to like talk softly, but the bus was so loud because like this shuttle bus is like the regular buses they have like they're diesel electric, right? So they have a diesel, so but it's quiet. Like but these shuttle buses, they're just straight diesel, so they're loud as fuck. So they're nicer, but they're louder. So yeah, I tried to actually talk loud, and they were kind of looking at me weird.
Any of you guys wear flat Earth shirts?
I had a 24/7 shirt.
Yes, I have 2 of them.
That's a great idea, by the way.
Yeah, I was saying, like, even for Alpha, he's talking about doing, new stuff. It'd be kind of cool to have like a camera on you and just random people coming up to you. Maybe you might get some pretty good bits out of that.
Yeah, I was thinking about getting a hat that's embroidered that says 24/7 FE. That's what I was going to tell Indio. That's what we should put our tag 24/7 FE. I don't know that you can do whatever you want, but
no. Dude, the reason, I mean, if people got a better idea for a 4-letter tag, that's all I could think about. 4 letters, there's not a lot of options there.
Oh, it's 4? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's limited to 4 letters. I can just put FE. I can get rid of the ER.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that would be better.
Yeah.
It's just because it's hard to say. Like, how do you read it? Click on the FE. Yeah, click on the flat earth tag.
Well, I mean, it's also that fear of the flat Earth.
True.
It's
like fear of a black planet.
I've seen other ones that have more than 4 characters. I thought it was only permitted to have 4 characters.
Yeah, who made that stupid roll up?
Does that depend on the size of the server or something?
Yeah, I have no idea.
If there was an emoji of the ball, you could just write flat.
I was thinking 247 FE.
Yeah, if it would work. Does it work?
Yeah, I don't know if you can do numbers.
Too many letters.
Well, I've seen other people that have 5 characters.
Oh yeah.
Would it be worth trying 24/7?
Yeah,
Like
but then it's kind of. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Dude, I thought about all this stuff. I can't change it right now anyway because I just looked. It doesn't seem like I can change it on the cell phone, so I got to do it on the PC. But whatever we come with, I don't care what it is. I have no preference.
So if you have a server and you can issue those tags, and you got 800 people that adopted the tag, and it's like, cool, and then you change it to fag, will it just everybody's name change to fag like that?
Yeah, probably. I might do that too because that's a good idea.
You just gave. Don't say that to Indio, bro. Like that's
why are you saying that? What?
Indio.
Y'all get all you back for that. Like everybody's Indio day. Get all y'all back. Y'all got fag in your tag.
Sounds fun.
The fag tag. That's hilarious.
We should have taken the GF6.
One,
We should have taken the GF6 from them.
We should take GF6. Yeah, that would be funny, dude.
Oh my god.
Dude, Heretic, I'm banning Peter. Then I'll change the tag to GF6 and invite him back.
Dude, he would make such a big deal out of this.
You know what he's doing on X now? He's pretending to be a flat earther now. He's turned to flat earth, and now he just like runs around and he already trolled, but now he's just like he's got a whole LARP going now. So kind of funny.
That is such a weird phenomenon of these fake flat earthers.
As the globe turns, right, didn't work. He made a little series called As the Globe Turns that failed miserably. So now he's onto this nonsense.
So he's now on to poisoning the well?
Yep. Pretend to be a flat earther and say dumb shit.
Oh, my name's
That's what he's doing. He's pretending to be a flat earther. What he's doing is pretending to be a flat earther, criticizing flat earthers, and then if they say anything to him, tell them that they're closed-minded.
Well, I changed my name to Global so I can.
Yeah, or that it's a cult, right? You gotta say the right things. You're in a cult. You gotta, that type shit.
instead of FL globe FLAT, put FL globe T.
To put F equal M. M equals FE squared.
F equals MA?
Nah, M equals FE squared.
It's 5.
Turned you off. Stay the fuck off. You were not supposed to fuck.
How am I
What was that? Huh?
Is that CV? That sound like CV.
No.
Noah.
Noah. Did you want to repeat that? We didn't get it, Noah. Hello. Hello.
Well, what's going on?
Oh, not much. I just had someone chiming in, and it was unintelligible, so.
I think he was hot micing.
Yeah.
I was going to say earlier, if I start saying like, okay, I don't believe that the Earth is spherical, my friends they're going to make fun of me. Everyone around me is going to start making fun of me. It's not going to be
So why
good.
do you talk about it? Why talk about it with them?
Don't talk about it.
Okay, sure, I could do that. But like at some point, like what if we're playing a video game and there's like a spherical planet in the video game and they're like, oh, isn't that planet so spherical? Like, what am I going to do?
Say, yeah, I can land on that planet too.
Yeah, disagree with that. Disagree with them. Yeah, in the game, yeah.
So if you had a unicorn in a game, you wouldn't talk about it?
Okay, that's fair. But what if they say like, you know, like, oh, did you hear about like Elon launching his rocket into space or something?
Yeah, something triggering, right?
Yeah, we talk about Elon all the time. I love him.
Just ask them ridiculous things like, have you guys heard about how they claim there's like hairy black holes in space? Or like talk about like how it rains diamonds on Uranus and smells like farts, but act like you're being super serious about it?
Or how I just posted, I mean, they landed on the moon in less than 10 years, but Elon founded SpaceX in 2002, still hasn't gone to space. Amazing.
Okay.
I
Now,
think you just worry about the stigma of being a flat earther.
no, because I wouldn't even be a flat earther. If I were to like,
Hey, yo.
You're allowed to know the truth and not tell everybody. You're allowed to know when you're being lied to, and you don't have to tell.
Hello. Listen, friends, to the mod team, don't forget which servers you're in. We have specific rules we're supposed to be following here. We just had a whole series of talking about a word we're not supposed to be talking about. Reflect on the error that you avoid in the future. Thanks.
Well, you're not even allowed to say the word? Because we weren't referring to any particular person. We didn't even say it in a negative light. I mean, yeah, we should avoid it, though. You're right.
That is taken sorry, right?
Yeah, true. True that, too. Yeah, you were saying we're at that squeeze, man. So, what you do is they say, oh, there's a planet, look how spherical it is. Be like, oh, man, I saw Kerr from the top of a freaking lifeguard chair at the beach. Then they'll be like, no, you didn't. And so you can just bait them into talking about curvature and you get them to flat smack themselves.
Absolutely.
I like the why do you really care what anybody thinks? I don't really give a shit.
Yeah, but some people take others into consideration, so that's probably where he's coming from. I mean, which is fine. I mean, he considers other people, but what the hell? Is he muted?
Yeah, I get that. I'm just so far past that point in my life, I guess.
Yeah, man, and that's you, Kingsley. But like other people, you know what I mean? Like that's what they do. That's what they do.
What you do, you try to get them to flat smack themselves, dude. You just plant the seed and then you watch it grow. Literally, you can, like an example I just gave, you can get them to defend a flat earth, dude, inadvertently, all on their own. I can see curve. I saw left to right curve from the top of a lifeguard chair at the beach. They'll be like, you're fucking dumb. You can't see curve from the top of a lifeguard chair. And go, oh, where can you see it from? An airplane. Then they'll start discussing, was it airplane? How about ISS? How about outer space? Like, then they'll be flat smacking themselves, brother. Then you go, oh, man, let's look it up. Let's look on the internet and figure out how far, like, where is the curve, right? How high you have to be to see it, right? You give them the flat smack themselves if they want to persist. Or you just don't talk about it.
That's pretty good.
You don't have to talk about it, dude. They don't have a gun to your head.
right? So if they, if the topic does come up and they say, okay, so, you don't believe that the earth is spherical. And I say, okay, I don't know that the earth is spherical because I've never done that experiment myself. And I'm not just going to trust the guy.
No, what you say is, no. What you say is, why should I? Really simple.
Right.
Why should I? Then they have to tell you why you should. Good luck to that.
Okay. I feel like just doing that by
Think about
itself
it, dude. Would you want to have to tell someone? Just think about it from your own point of view, right? Would you want to have to, if you said, hey, the earth is spherical, why do you think it's flat? And they said to you, why should I think it's spherical? How would you tell them why they should think that?
I mean,
you don't have like come in an airplane with me, or like, what are you going to say? Like, there's nothing you can even say. Believe the TV. Like, I don't there's no way to even defend that position.
I mean, that's true.
I'm just saying. That'd be like impossible defense. That's an impossible defense. That's why I asked them, like, they're like, you don't believe in satellites? Scientists ask them, why should I believe in satellites? And then that's where it ends, because they can't tell me why I should believe them. There's no good reason to believe in them.
Okay, that's true. But like the best that they have for me is, we believe, like, these people we trust, and it's like, okay, why do you trust these people? I don't know. Everyone else trusts these people.
It's the worst reason.
Something like that.
That's going to be the worst reason, though. But no, dude, that is going to be the worst reason to believe something.
Okay, but that's their reason.
Yeah, but you could go strictly with logic.
Just tell them they're dumb and you don't want to associate with them no more because they're freaking retarded.
Yeah, you don't even have to go there. You could go with logical fallacies. You could just tell them, did you know that an appeal to authority is a logical fallacy? Start going into logic. And you can have a discussion about logic, because it's non-specific, right? It's just, okay, what are the facts, and are you using a logical fallacy to support your claim? But I mean, you don't even have to get into the conversation. That's another part.
Probably what I would do would be, like, I would ask them, do you figure out what's true that way because it's easy? Because that's the reason, right? Like, I just trust this person. I don't want to think about it. That's just the easiest thing to do. What is everybody else doing? That's what I'm doing.
I think the most compelling argument Flather has is it's the whole measured flat, observed flat, used flat thing. I don't know why you guys don't hammer that in more. You're talking to normies. That's the obvious.
We do all the time.
Yeah, you do. But this other rhetorical bullshit that he was suggesting, I don't know why you would ever waste your time with that.
Yeah, because they're his friends, and he's trying to grease it up and slip it in gently.
Yeah, but that's like the dirtiest, rhetorical, grossest way to do it. You just tell them what you believe. You don't have to fucking play games.
It isn't
playing games. Playing goes to people, though, dude.
Yeah, and so what you're doing is laying the foundation to determine what's true. A lot of people, if they say that I believe something because I trust them, they don't know how to determine what's true. They don't know how to do it. I just talked about this earlier. The qualities of the person making the claim is irrelevant to the truth of that claim. Got it? Doesn't matter if they're wearing a purple hat, or they're wearing, freaking ruby slippers, or they got 1 million PhDs, or they freaking got elected president, or they're the freaking dog catcher. It doesn't matter. Any personal qualities about that person are irrelevant to the truth of a claim. They're completely irrelevant. So if someone says that's how they determine truth, they don't know how to determine truth. That's why you have to get them down. How would determine truth in the first place? This topic is too much for them. You can't just jump right into curvature. No, dude, they don't even know how to evaluate that.
Okay. Well, I doubt I'm going to lose any friends over this conversation anyways.
Yeah, right.
But Cooper, let me ask you a question. If a person doesn't know how to think critically or apply logic, can they even determine what's true in the first place?
Obviously no. But I don't believe that is the case for the general population.
And you just made a logical fallacy yourself, proving you don't know how to determine what's true.
Okay.
It's crazy. There's irony in here.
The general population that can't use logic, is that what you're saying?
Okay, appeal to majority or generalities can't prove a claim, dude.
Not proving a claim. I'm just saying, in general, I think humans are capable of logic, right?
So we're capable, but a lot of people What I'm saying is, a lot of people, they don't know how to use it in the first place because they were never taught it. Okay, so in advertising, right, you get things like Trident gum. 3 out of 4 dentists recommend Trident gum. This is an appeal to majority fallacy. It's an appeal to credentials fallacy, right? But people will go buy Trident gum because this is the advertisement. People use logical fallacies because they work to convince people of things, but the reasoning is fallacious regardless of their power to convince.
Sure, I understand that. But when the other guy said, when he referenced the appeal to authority is not always a fallacy. If I go to a car mechanic and ask, well, what's wrong with my car? That's not an appeal to authority. It would be a fallacious appeal to authority if I wouldn't ask my dentist what's wrong with my car.
No, dude.
Yep, that's how it works.
Of a claim is irrelevant to the person. No, it's not how it works. Okay. Here's
no. I agree with that in general, yes. But when we're talking about
I'll give you an example. Okay, here's a claim. Okay, there's 4 steps at the steps I'm looking at because some PhD said so. No characteristics of the person that says it determine whether there's 4 steps there.
True.
Right? Nothing about that person. The same is true with appeal to authority. That's why it's a logical fallacy. There's no qualities unless the claim is about that person. No qualities about that person can determine the truth of the claim. Only the evidence of the claim can determine
actual basis of the claim. But say you take like something an unknown. So say I have 2 doors, and behind one of them is a purple hat. I have my mother and a random asshole I know is a dick. And one of them is my mother is telling me it's behind the right door. The other guy's telling me it's behind the left door. Who do I believe?
Whoever you want.
Obviously, no, wrong. Obviously, we're going to consider the character of these people, right?
Well, in the law, I can only bring up how it's evaluated in the law. Sacrifice is a measure of credibility of human beings. So whoever is the most aloof, if they're lying, that's who's considered the most credible. But you would obviously trust your mother, but that's probably just because of familiarity. But the key point here is you're not going to get to the truth. You're not going to figure out what's true or not based upon their claim and based upon you knowing this is my mother and this person's not my mother. Whether that's true or not, all you're talking about is what you believe. So you're still in the realm of belief and not knowing.
Right. Talking about proving things. We're talking about proving. We're talking about who should I trust? If I'm not verifying things, well, no, you don't prove is math. You don't have evidence for other stuff.
Okay, your trust is irrelevant to whether a claim is true or not. See, you're like the person I'm talking about. You don't know how to think. You don't know how to critically think. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be.
Well, if you declare that, it must be so, right?
You're defending using. No, I wasn't going to just say declare it, just be so, right? Because a claim is not evidence of the claim. The evidence for the claim is you're defending logical fallacies as if they're legitimate to use.
No, I'm not. Because appeal to authority is not a fallacy if it's an authoritative figure on that subject. If I go to a car mechanic and ask what's wrong with my car,
and I proved that incorrect. I proved it incorrect by an example.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did.
Stick with car mechanic. Why don't you stick with the car mechanic example?
Okay, I did the stairs, dude. If there's 4 stairs there, it doesn't matter who says it. It doesn't matter who says it. That there's 4 stairs there. There either is or there isn't. Their personality of who said there's 4 stairs. It doesn't matter who uttered those words.
Yeah. I can make that observation myself. I don't need anybody else for that, right? Let's talk about something that I can't verify.
Oh, God, dude. Okay, so someone else makes the observation. You believe them, and that's proof that what they said is true? I think you lost connection or something. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I think you lost connection.
I am going through.
I see him lit up. Yeah, you're cutting in and out, brother.
Yeah, I'm having.
Yeah, that mic is just terrible.
Hold on. If a cell phone engineer told you your phone's actually working right now and not cutting in and out because they're a cell phone engineer, would that mean your phone's actually working? Yeah. Authorities have to prove their contentions just like everybody else. They're not some special class of people.
Yeah, but when you're talking about the fallacy, right, it's not fallacious to appeal to an authority figure on a specific subject.
If the authority figure has the evidence, sure. But you wouldn't rely on their authoritative presence. You would rely on the evidence that they had.
In some situations, but like if I were talking to our car mechanic, right?
Okay, let's go back.
Car mechanic. We're not going to go to our dentist to diagnose known shysters for ripping people off, dude. Bad example.
Hey now. Let's not disparage.
Let me go through shit. Different ways car mechanics have ripped me off, dude. Like seriously.
You want to run through your anecdotal evidence, and are you saying that that's
because he lost
Isn't that a fallacy?
Look, bro. So a car mechanic busted my radiator trying to pry it away from the fan because he dropped the tool in there. Cracked my radiator, didn't say anything. And then when I lost all my radiator fluid, my engine overheated. I bring it back. They didn't say, "Oh, I lost my freaking tool. Oh, it's gonna cost you this much to fix all this shit." Then when I get back, then I see his fucking tool in there, and then I realize what the fuck happened. So yeah,
is this a fallacy right now?
I can give
What's
other
happening?
examples. I'm giving you an example of that trust is does not determine the truth. Okay, period.
I agree.
Trust is not a metric. Yeah, appeal to authority is trust.
What I'm speaking on is the difference between a fallacious appeal to authority and an appeal to authority.
Okay, so let's break this down. What is
Do you understand the difference?
Okay, what is an authority?
An authority is someone who has specific knowledge in a subject.
Okay, what's the objective metric we use to determine whether they're an authority on that subject?
It would all be subjective. I don't think there would be an objective way to decide who's an authority on something.
Nothing subjective can prove anything objectively. So that's the end of that. Just prove my point. It's over.
Okay, you win.
It's not about winning, dude. Look, you don't know how to think.
It seems like it means a lot to you, okay?
No, it means a lot to me that you don't know how to think.
This isn't even like up for debate. Like the definition of this fallacy is when you apply authority, like when you ascribe authority to someone who has no relevance in the subject. Like that's what a fallacious appeal to authority is.
No,
you're just misusing the term. That's all I'm talking about. That's all I'm trying to say.
Appeal to authority is saying a claim is true because an authority said it.
That's a fallacious appeal to authority, right?
That's just an appeal to authority, period.
Okay. Are all appeals to authority fallacious?
Yes. Just because the internet told you.
We're just going to have to disagree.
Listen, bro, I know there's a website that says not all appeals to authority are fallacious. That is fallacious. Okay.
But you have your own definition. You have your private definition.
If you look in any textbook, if you look in a website is not the definition. If you look in any textbook on philosophy.
I don't know what you think I'm referencing.
You're referencing the textbook?
I'm not referencing a textbook.
What are you referencing then? Where'd you get your definition?
School. Memory.
School. What textbook in school is that in?
Are all things written in textbooks?
Yeah, well, now you're asking me a question.
Only knowledge only comes from textbooks? Is that what you're saying?
I didn't
Is that
say
a textbook that says the earth is round?
Okay, so your teacher told you, right? So then your professor told you? Or was it a classmate? Or was it written on the bathroom stall? Well, because you accused me of making my own definition. Is there a point to this? Yeah, you accused me of making up my own definition. And in the textbook, appeals to authority don't caveat appeals to authority with, well, in some circumstances, if they're an actual expert in the claim, then what they said is true. No philosophy textbook says that. It never has said that, ever. It says that on the internet. And I guarantee it was written by some fucking cuck.
Okay, sounds good.
Dude, how about you research it? Just research this one thing. Okay?
Okay, I'm going to go research it. Bye, have a good day. This is boring.
Yeah. Have a good day. It's boring. Bye. Doesn't know how to think. Perfect example. Doesn't know how to think and then defends not knowing how to think. Crazy.
Maybe Cooper is an authority in coping. That's probably what it is.
Yeah, look, in order for this to not be categorically possible to be fallacious, it would have to be the case that any time an author speaks on a subject, an authority speaks on a subject, that what they're saying must necessarily be correct. That's just simply not true. So to say that this is an authority saying it, therefore it must be true, that would be a fallacious statement, period. Kind of one of the oddest spurge outs I've okay, I'm gonna go research. Okay, this is getting boring. Bye. He got mad because he tried to make fun of eclipses by showing the turtle floating in front of the moon shadow, Then I just showed him the fact that you can get a curved shadow on a globe object with a flat surface, and that a globe object casting a shadow on another globe object results in a complex curve or a sinusoid pattern, which we never see. So eclipses actually debunk the idea that it's a globe casting a shadow on a globe. So he got really hurt about that. So he had to say, I had to save grace somehow.
Dude, I was talking about this last night. I'm going to start characterizing things like that as stolen valor. When they say eclipses prove the globe and they actually prove a flat earth, I'm like, dude, you're doing stolen valor right now. Because they use the flat earth to predict eclipses. Eclipses are predicted by a flat earther, right?
Yeah,
they don't follow. They actually falsify the globe. So it's stolen valor, dude. You're taking our evidence and saying it's yours.
There's a lot of flat earthers are the most psyop group in the world right now.
Really? That's a cool story. Do you have any evidence of that? I might believe you if you have evidence. Please.
Well, that's you guys' game, right? Ask for
asking for evidence. I know that's horrible.
Ask for someone to be your arbiter.
Horrible evil demons. They're asking for
You guys are
evidence. Oh my
masters of
god!
identity credibility, taking the program of this fake system and applying
No
it
one
to
that doesn't produce
They're
evidence
so
should
lost.
never talk about credibility ever. You have evidence for your claim. Not a lot. Why?
You ever engaged with anybody in this community?
Just provide proof of the globe.
Which it started on our
the more grifters there are. It's only the low-level
listen,
people
dude,
that are honest.
which it started on our Discord.
And if you have positive intent, you should have left
Okay,
Flat
dude,
Earth a long time
stop
ago.
your yapping.
Well,
Stop your yapping. Okay, so which it started debating this topic. Okay, I'm gonna mute you in like 2 seconds if you don't shut up. So, which it started debating this topic on our Discord. Okay, which it started debating this topic on our Discord. What are you talking about? We trained his ass.
You're not even caught up to the events that have happened in the last 6 months.
Really?
What event is that?
What's that based on?
You guys haven't realized, as flat earthers, that you're
How do you know? How do you know that? Where's your evidence that we don't know what's happening?
That was dug for you based on
Where's
some ideas that fit your perspective. It's a carrot on a stick for those who don't believe the system.
Where's the evidence?
You guys have a lot of
we
work.
don't know.
We asked for the evidence. So can you produce the evidence?
Flat earther joins, they say, what's the model? The whole group says, what?
No, I'm asking you to produce the evidence.
You guys don't even make sense.
Okay, so, okay, cool story, bro. So are you going to produce evidence or are you going to just yap? Because we don't care about your opinion.
Well, that's what I'm trying to show you guys. No one cares about the flat Earth opinion, and you guys
listen in the chat.
Here.
No, you're talking. You're talking. You're not producing evidence. You're not even recanting.
You guys forget other people are
That's a claim.
The biggest joke.
That's a claim. That's a claim. That's a claim. So
okay, yes, I can make claims now. But I don't have to provide evidence for you.
Okay, then we can. What can be asserted without evidence? Can be dismissed without evidence. That's called Hitchens' razor. Hitchens' razor. What can be asserted without evidence? Can be dismissed without evidence. You're dismissed.
Education.
You're dismissed, kid. You're dismissed, kid.
You're going to bring in the fallacy mechanism next too? You're going to hang your hat on that? The same
fallacy mechanism. You can't determine truth without
you're going to hang your hat.
We just covered that. Okay, go spurg somewhere else, dude.
Yeah. He's like, nobody cares about what flat earthers think, but yet he's here trying to tell us. You're in a flat earth server.
Trying to convince us of something because he cares so much, doesn't care what we think, so he's going to try to make us think something else.
Yeah, or he could have took that opportunity to tell us the secret information that occurred with the past 6 months that we somehow missed. Maybe that's what he should have taken the opportunity for us and our audience to tell them. What a waste of a time that guy just wasted.
Yeah, maybe he's got a chance to do that now. Can you put that evidence in the chat, Tank, while you're listening? Since you're muted, just put it in the text chat. Put your evidence there.
When you make a wild accusation like we're part of a psyop and all this stuff happened in 6 months, it is not unreasonable to ask for the evidence. I said you might be right. Maybe it is. Please post the evidence. So I just say, well, you claimed it. Let's follow this guy. I don't think so. Post some evidence. If someone posted John Travolta meme looking for that shit and fucking in the chat, bro, because I don't see anything.
So, Indio, earlier you said that eclipses are on the flat Earth side. That's the first time I heard that.
Man.
In what sense?
Well, I said what sense? That the projection of the circle, right? Shouldn't look like that. I mean, you've heard it all before, Matt. You really want me to go through it all again?
No, I haven't heard this part. That's why I was asking. The projection of the circle shouldn't be a circle?
Yeah, not on a sphere. It should warp.
Oh, I see.